Oh, whoa, wow. I'm into Cabral. I'm so confused. I'm Stephen Billings. And look, it's the duo, the shake and bake back together.
Nice. I don't know which side to go on.
Other side, other arm.
Other side?
In the middle. Shake and bake.
Nice.
All right.
Little
you couldn't see that
little
on the audio.
Freaky Friday going on.
You couldn't see us hitting.
No, it's like the Wonder Twins power activating.
Exactly. But welcome to Chasing Labels. This feels weird. God, I haven't done this in so long. Of course, I'm Stephen Billings, and your normal host, Andrew Cabral, of course, here with me.
Yeah, I am indeed.
So, yeah, this is a special episode of Chasing Labels. We used to, if you remember back in the day, Chasing Labels, we used to do interviews like all the time. You know, you'd start an episode, and they weren't live, but we used to attach interviews usually to the beginning of our episodes. And then over time, they started becoming kind of separate things. We do interviews separately than Chasing Labels, blah, blah, blah. But we decided to, since we're doing it live now, we decided, hey, you know, every once in a while, maybe we can throw an interview in. And this was a perfect matchup because this is a friend of the podcast. This is somebody that's been a supporter of ours and is done other shows of ours. Has been on Chasing Labels. And we had to bring him on because when somebody gets their dream, somebody that collects boutique labels, and then one day makes their own boutique label, you have to talk to them about that dream. I got to get the inside scoop. So without further ado, we're going to talk to one of the heads here of New Wave Video, John Matthews. What's up, man?
Hey guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. So yeah, looking forward to this. It's been a while since I've been on. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. No, you've been, you know, we've been talking, but like I know how busy you were, man. Between this, a documentary on Anchor Bay that you've been working on for so long, and just the normal life of, you know, I'm sure you have to find a way to pay for things. So, especially when you're starting a new label,
it's expensive. Yes.
So I never hold anytime we can bring a guest on, it's kind of a privilege, man. When nobody's doing this for money. We're doing this because it's like favors. We're friends. We're like, hey,
the love of cinema, the love of movies.
Give me your time, you know? So like, but we appreciate you, man. And furthermore, appreciate what you're doing, what your recent activity is, because that makes more fun stuff for us to talk about.
It really does. And for those of you who are not steeped in Chasing Labels lore, John Matthews was the guest on episode number 21 of
a long time
Chasing Labels. So back in the pre-video days, the early podcast days with probably less than stellar on microphones.
No, mine's always good. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Mine was less than stellar probably at the time then. But yeah, so going way back in the Chasing Labels lore, back with Indicator Cast and all that kind of stuff. But recently, New Wave Video has jumped on the scene. We've talked about it a little bit here on Chasing Labels, but it's nice to put a face to the name, really, of New Wave Video.
Yeah, so yeah, without further ado, you should know by now, guys. They've announced 4 titles, but if anybody who doesn't know anything about New Wave, please, John, give us the pitch. Tell why should people be paying attention to New Wave Video?
Yeah, thank you. So New Wave Video is a new label focused on, I guess, rescuing and releasing Japanese cinema, particularly the more extreme, sort of controversial side of cinema, because that's kind of what I personally like. And our main goal is to get these films that, once again, were really sort of big in their day, but people have just forgotten. And once again, they've slipped through the cracks of companies going out of business and bankruptcies, and they're just kind of stuck. And so I really love these films, and I've always sort of had a dream to get them out there again. So I guess New Wave is just rescuing obscure and controversial Japanase cinema. But once again, I say controversial, but these films are also quite acclaimed too, to a degree. They're not trashy, Z-grade garbage that's just even though I like that sort of stuff, but they're actually quite well regarded too in terms of a critical level. So yeah, it's an interesting mix of films. But yeah, we're just trying to rescue and bring some of the most amazing and awesome films out on Blu-ray in the Asian cinema side.
Yeah, that's, I think, you know, so in a sense, it's like you're kind of not that you're connected to them at all, but other labels like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome take a similar stance where not everything is quite high art, but
Yes.
but there's a certain sense of, I mean, like you personally obviously enjoy these movies, but like a big thing about it is it's an opportunity to rescue things that otherwise people would just scoff at and be like, well, that's not worth my time. Like, so that, I mean, this is always important, guys. I mean, like, anytime somebody takes the time and for real, like, if John didn't like these movies, I'm sure he would not be putting the time and effort in to rescue them, because we know, we've talked to many other labels and things. It is a lot of money to rescue movies, on the level you're doing it.
Oh, it is. Yeah. And absolutely that. It's kind of that fine line between, what we consider great, sort of artistic films, but also not big great, but also so that's that fine line between them. But once again, yeah, the films that we're rescuing in Japan, they're not highly regarded by the companies who own them. I mean, it's just kind of, and that's why I appreciate a lot of labels like Severin and what those guys do is they really rescue films they believe in, and to someone seeing them, it depends on their perspective. They may not see them as high art, but we see them as great films. So yeah, it's really worth the effort of going to rescue them from being in limbo status to getting a good release.
Well. Yeah. Now, go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, just giving people just a sense of like a timeline of, when the whole genesis of New Wave video started. How many I would say, how much time in the works has this been kind of brewing? Like, has this been like years in the making for you as a passion project? What was the kind of gestation of New Wave video?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, I've been on your podcast. I've been a long time, massive fan of home video and boutique labels, and so I kind of get it. Like, I kind of understand, like, myself as a consumer, what I would want, and so it was just in the back of my mind for many years. I'm like, because I've seen all these labels, and I know people who are also involved with labels and what they do, and I'm just like, is this something I could possibly do just as a little side thing? And so yeah, it was kind of bubbling in the back of my mind for many years. And then obviously my partner Mako, we were talking about it, and I said, look, is this something we can do? And she's like, yeah, possibly. And this was, so in terms of the actual genesis, about 2 years ago was when we started seriously actually getting a name, started to plan, register, and just say, okay, let's give this a go. But yeah, so it's been a long time in the making, but definitely is not an overnight thing. But I would say, in terms of like, to us, from the name to where we are today, it's been a good 2 years. So it's it's a long journey. Well, but like I said, I've been thinking about it for many years, more than that, probably my whole life. So
yeah, well, I was gonna say, like I said in the beginning, being any of us, like, it would be fun. We kind of like talk about it probably like amongst each other, like, God, if I could start a label, I would do this or that. And that's one thing I want to ask you, like, was this type of sector of cinema like always kind of like in the forefront of your mind as being like what you would present as like the label's identity, or was there maybe a broader sense that you started with, or do you think that one day New Wave could be broader? Expand out with further than where it is you're kind of pitching it as?
Yeah, very good question. Because originally in the back of my mind, I was thinking all types of genres and countries, because just general genre cinema, and I love Italian exploitation films, everything. I love all types of films. But yeah, for me, I've always been a massive fan of Japanese cinema. That's kind of my bread and butter, and I've had a obsession with Japan for many years. Like, I can speak the language at an elementary level. I've worked over there. My partner Mako's Japanese, so I've had this kind of lifelong obsession with Japan. And so ever since I was in high school, I discovered Japanese films, and look, I've always loved Japanese cinema. And to me, it's just the most. It's good now because we're seeing a lot of labels. Like 5 years ago, not a lot of Japanese stuff was being released unless it was a real classic, like the Toho classics. And so I've always loved Japanese films. So to me, I thought, look, if we do a label, I think Japanese will be the forefront because it's out of all the countries, it's my most passionate in terms of cinema, because I think that the Japanese are just the masters of what they do. Obviously, going all the way, it has a long, rich history in Japan. There's a Japanese film museum over there. But the thing I noticed was a lot of the exploitation and genre films were not really being represented on Blu-ray. And 2 years ago, look, the past 2 years, it's good. We're seeing more labels release more Japanese films. But, in a couple of years ago, I was thinking, let's start with Japanese because it's what we kind of know. And obviously we know the culture, we know the films as well. So yeah, it kind of started. Yeah. So the starting point definitely was we were going to focus on Japanese cinema, but having said that, we have been talking about branching out later on, but and once again, it was just that rescue mission because, I hate to say it, but much like sort of Hong Kong, the Japanese, they don't take good, unless you're a Toho, they don't take good care of their films. A lot of these studios, they really like elements get chucked away or get poorly stored, and so and once a company goes bankrupt, stuff gets lost, and so so it was a real mission. Like, okay, let's focus on Japanese because of what we know. It's what I love, and I really want to focus on rescuing these films that, once again, are fantastic, but they just haven't had a release. Trying to get them.
Now, was that tell me if I'm stepping over the line here, but was that how, you said Mako is your partner? Was that how you got in? You were like, I'm a big Japanese film fan, and did you is that how it started? You guys bond over that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. She loves movies too, Japanese movies and movies in general. So, and I try my best to impress with my broken Japanese. But yes,
hey, you got to do it. You do it now. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us today. But could you tell us a little bit about her? What she does for New Wave and definitely. Some of what she's bringing to the table.
Yeah, definitely. So Mako is, I wish she could have joined today, but like I said, unfortunately, she had to be somewhere. But yeah, Mako is very critical to the business. So her role, and this is why, we're announcing these titles. People are like, how did you get these titles? It wasn't me, it was her. So once again, so Mako's role is more in the sales and acquisition side. So she will approach the companies, start the deals, begin the negotiations. She's also in charge with communication with the filmmakers as well. So once we do a release, we want to make sure it's director approved or filmmaker approved. So she'll reach out, start the communication with them as well, because most of these guys don't speak English. And she'll also check the release as well. So just go through the general accuracy of Japanese as well in terms of the subtitles, the QCing of it. But yeah, it's quite crucial because, as I mentioned before, the Japanese are very difficult to deal with, I'll say it, in terms of unless, and that's why a lot of these companies haven't got their foot in the door, a lot of these Western companies, because they try, and maybe their approach is wrong, or the Japanese company got offended by it. So Mako knows how to kind of gently, present ourselves. And we went to Japan, we met them, and she did all the talking. So she's more on the relationship, sales, acquisition side, and just keeping the relationship with the licensors as well. And so it's very crucial to what we do, because without her, like I said, we wouldn't have any of these films, because with her, like, it was a year of negotiations for Rubber's Lover, and most American companies be like, screw this, I'm done, this is a waste of my time, I'm going to walk away. But yeah, it's just sort of patience is sort of key to what we do.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like, the community, I mean, as they talk about in the Denis Villeneuve film, I'm blanking, the Alien movie,
Arrival.
Communication. Like that's the thing that binds us. If we can't communicate properly, like, and in this case, like, if she's not there to be able to, like you say, like, present yourself properly with the right respect, right? Then you might not be able to license any. I mean, especially these more fringe titles. I
mean, that's as good a transition as any for my next kind of inquiry and question, because I'm always fascinated by this. How did you end up choosing the titles so far that you've chosen? Has it just been availability?
Why Rubber's Lover?
Yeah,
number one.
Yeah, basically.
My number one. Yeah, look, so when we were starting the label, that's kind of the things, you've got to try and pick your first few titles. And we're a bit ambitious because Yeah, Rubber's Lover is a film I saw many years ago, and I had a DVD copy. I think it was an Unearthed Films DVD, and it was just one that always stuck in the back of my mind because I remember it being this insanely intense film, and it just kind of really. And that's the thing about New Wave. The films we're picking are films that will stick with you for a long time. Or these are movies that are kind of implanted in my memory.
I was gonna say I watched Rubber's Lover. I know Andrew did too. Yeah,
I have seen it.
You're
We've
not gonna
talked
forget,
about it.
You're not gonna forget this movie.
We've talked about it here on Chasing Labels. It is indescribable. It really is.
I mean, it always gets it's getting compared to Tetsuo. Like
yeah, and I made sure to mention that it does have a kind of somewhat direct connection to Tetsuo the Iron Man, kind of within that Japanese genre. And I believe the director had worked on, Tetsuo the Iron Man, so he took some of that inspiration from there to bring to his own film. But like you were saying, something you had seen many years ago, because it's not that easy of a movie to find. I would say all of these are really not that easy to find in decent quality with correct subtitles, all of that stuff. You have to throw all that into when you're dealing with, in non-English language cinema.
Exactly. There's been no decent release of Rubber's Lover, and so that was kind of the first one off the top of my head because our thought was processed that we can't approach a studio because we've got nothing, we've got no films, we've got no. So I thought maybe we'll go for an indie film first, because Rubber's Lover was an independent film, and then once we get that, then we can maybe put it on our resume and then build more films from there. So we thought, okay, Rubber's Lover will be because it's a cult film, it's great, it's intense, and yeah. So I did a bit of research and once again, look, because like I said, we were thinking about starting the label. It wasn't really something quite solid. It's just when I was in Japan, we were in Japan because we go over twice a year for Mako's family, and I was there 2 years ago, and then a friend of mine said, "Oh, Shozen has a bar." Because I actually reached out. I said, "This director of Rubber's Lover, how do I get in contact with him?" "Oh, he has a bar in Nakano," and I said, "Oh, really?" And they said, "Yeah, go check it out." So I went there to check it out and see if it was his bar, and it was him. It was Shozen, and I got to meet him. And I said, "Oh, yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Nice to meet you, Shozen." And then we started. He couldn't speak much English, so we were just talking about movies. And then I said to Mako, I said, "Oh, look, that is Shozen. Like, let's go back and let's say hello to him." And she came back the night after in his bar, and yeah, we got the conversation going about. I just asked him like, "What's happening with Rubber's Lover? We'd love to release it." And once again, we've got no films behind us. We've got nothing. We're a nobody essentially. And Shozen, because he liked us and kind of vibe with us, he said, "Oh, look, I'll give you guys a chance." "Yeah, sure. Here's the salesperson. Yeah, make contact and yeah, feel free to release my film. You have my blessing." So, and that's a film that once again, it was kind of just like I said, Andrew, it was very hard to find. It was stuck in limbo. The DVD was. Like I said, it was from an old like VHS or Betamaster. It was really washed out, looked really bad. And so I see, I love this one. I love to give it a nice restoration, proper subtitles, nice extras, like a real full. Because Pinocchio got all the deluxe treatment, 964 Pinocchio's other film, but Rubbers was just thrown away in just left in the dark. And so. And once again, yeah. So that's kind of what opened up, and like I said, it's a film that I really love, and I just really passionate. I wanted to give it a real deluxe edition. So that's how we kind of got connected with Shozen for our first film. And he like I said, he really opened the door for our label. He really he's the nicest man. Without him, I don't think we would have started New Wave, because once he opened that door with Rubber's Lover, he got us connected with a company. We were talking to them. And then once we had that under our belt, we could approach other companies and be more, we've restored Rubber's Lover. And so that kind of helped open up the gate. But this was, like I said, over a year and a half ago, we started conversations with Shozen about it. But that was the first film. And yeah, just one that we really want to give a deluxe treatment, because I think it's an incredible film.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get your foot in the door somewhere, and you just got to get lucky. Well, you just finally get lucky. And you know what's so, and this is the feeling I've gotten talking to other labels. That's got to be the funnest part. In a way, it's like the hardest part, but it's like the funnest part. Like almost being like a film treasure hunter and going out and looking for like the people that can help get you a movie. So you can put it on your label. It's kind of fun. That sounds cool. We need a movie. We need a book series about a film nerd that goes out and does that. Somebody needs to write that.
Oh, it is, and it's real detective work. And I have to. I wish she was here, but Mako, I have to credit her. She tracked down some stuff. Like she really was calling companies. Like, okay, who bought you? What company? And then she called another company, and then like literally like a, see a meme of someone's map, wall with like threads connected. Like it's literally like work. Because a lot of these people, like they're like, how did you get that film? Well, it was just persistence and real detective work. So they put the spyglass on and so once again, really finding people, it's very difficult.
It's like the stories of finding cans of film in a I can't remember which film it was, but just like in a warehouse or a barn somewhere, like just sitting, just like nobody's really
people's
taking
attics. It's in people's attics or basements for decades, or it'll be part of somebody's like estate sale or something like that.
Yeah.
When it came to like since Rubber's Lover, the relative obscurity of it, I'm just curious, just from a personal standpoint, did Chosen have the original like camera negatives, or was it like in some other company's hands and he just didn't have it? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, exactly. So because we wanted to restore the film, and so we needed the negative, and so what happened was he independently made the film, but it was actually picked up by I think it was some small VHS label in Japan in the 90s. And then what happened was they owned the rights for many years, but then they went bankrupt and they got swallowed by another company. And when they swallowed them, they took all the negatives and elements with them. And so basically it was in this possession, this big company. And once again, that's the frustration. If he owned it, we could have got to release out a year ago, but because it was owned by this big, and once again, I'm talking publicly traded company, they had it sitting in there, once again, just sitting in their warehouse, just collecting dust. And so he gave it to them because he trusted that they would take good care of it. And look, granted they did, but once again, it was just a case where it makes you sweating because they're looking and they can't find it. And there was a whole week where they couldn't find the negative. And I was like, oh my God. And so it's just like, and Shotgun's like, they have to, like, we gave them, like, they took everything. So unfortunately it was owned by this big company. They did have it. But he, because once again, he didn't want to store it in his house or anything because in case, and that's how films get lost. They get stored in people's houses. They get damp, they get moldy. So he gave it to a company and trusted, look, and once again, the company, they're a massive, they're like a Netflix partner. Like they're like, this is just a little, they don't really care about this little side thing, this little cult film they happen to absorb in the 90s. They're just like, so, but they had it. So that's how we had to fight to get the negative release because they didn't want to ship it outside Japan. And so Shots really pushed them like, hey guys, it's my film, give them it, release it, and they eventually released the negative to us. But it was a real fight to get them to ship it over to us.
Yeah. That's fascinating, just because I assume like the more obscure the movie, the more difficult it is to, the whole process is more difficult. Now, I know, Steven, you haven't seen their number 2 release, which is Strange Circus, which I would assume was a little bit more kind of a larger film, at least I think, because it came out in 2005, I think, and I think it was probably more of an international release at certain festivals. So was it different, like trying to track down, get that released and whatnot?
Yeah, Strange Circus was a lot easier, thankfully, because the company we're dealing with are a smaller company, so they moved a lot faster. And once again, the people who work there, they're film lovers, like they really know their movies. The other company we're dealing with, I don't want to say anything bad, but I felt like they were just like corporate people. They didn't really understand what they had, which is good for us because they didn't really realize what they had. Yeah. And even with the our number 3, that's another title. I don't think they realize what they have. And so it was just a case of these guys were film lovers. They really understood it. They got it. And with them, they had they had the elements, like they had done a scan themselves and they had it all ready to go. So it was a much easier process. They just kind of gave us the file, and that was a lot easier. We wanted to do a new scan, but they didn't want to. Once again, they were nervous. They didn't want to ship us the negative, and so they gave us a 1080p file. It looked good. Look, I said I would have, and just because just avoiding confusion, people think that we did a new restoration on Strange Circus. We didn't. We were just given a file from the company, which is fine. But that was a lot easier process because they just gave us literally like a Dropbox link. Here's the file. Here's all the elements. Here's the photos.
There you go.
Yeah. And they gave us all the like production photos, and just life was a lot easier with these guys. They were a much better company to deal with. With Rubbers, once again, they had no photos, no nothing, no posters, and so we really had to be creative. But Strange Circus, it was a lot more accessible because it was a newer film than Rubbers, which was didn't get a worldwide release. It was just in Japan. Rubbers Lover had a release, and then it kind of got forgotten in that regard.
Yeah. So now you didn't do a restoration for Strange Circus, but just in general, your restoration process. How is that working? And you guys are doing some of your own restoration work.
We are, yeah, and it's really great because to scan a film in Japan and restore it, it's horribly expensive, and also I don't mean to sound mean, but they sometimes don't do a good job. I've seen some horror stories of these Japanese labs doing scans, and they're just, you know, and yeah, so like a scan over there is, you're talking like up to, what's it, USD, like, you know, probably a 4K scan, like, you know, 10,000-15,000 US dollars to do a restoration, which is
Wow.
we wouldn't make it back with the release. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So basically we and once again we had to really push to get that Rubber's Lover negative sent to us. We said, look, really please, you know, and they released it. And so we struck up a really good relationship with a local restoration company here in Sydney, so right in our backyard. And so Ray has been doing restoration work for a long time, and he has a big 4K scanner. And basically, yeah, he can take the negative or prints or any sort of elements and do a full restoration on it as well. So he goes through, grades it, color corrects it, you know, does sort of frame by frame. And once again, he, you know, no AI garbage. He's, you know, he knows what he's doing, like a proper grain. Like,
Come on, man. You don't want to do some James Cameron shit? Come on.
Don't James Cameron it.
James Cameron, or even I'm worried. I don't know. I'm off topic.
I will say,
okay,
yeah,
soon. I'm worried. I'm about to see that soon next month. I'm a bit worried that Peter Jackson may have done some.
Oh, of course. That's another issue. Is now with AI, in terms of like people kind of taking that and using it as a tool to restore things and change things, manipulate things. People have like this investigative eye now in everything that comes out to kind of look at that. Sometimes it's tough to discern, and sometimes it's easier to discern than others. But I will say this: your most recent post on social media was a little behind the scenes look at how one of your more recent announcements, Noriko's dinner table, how you guys are restoring that. And I have to say, as somebody who just watched it like last week or so, and then seeing that like little restoration thing, it looks a heck of a lot better than what's been out there so far. So it looks good. And I will say this kind of, I also went back and watched like the first film that you kind of have to watch Noriko's dinner table, and
yes.
they both are equally don't look as good, but you can tell the age. You can really tell it's the age. It's of a different time. Even movies that came out in the 2000s, you know, we have to go back now and like remaster, restore, preserve, because time is, you know, not kind to even like digital movies and stuff like that. So, and I guess that brings you kind of, so the first two, just to catch up people who are listening here on Chasing Labels, right now, currently the first two titles are available to pre-order on the New Wave Video website, which is newwavevideo.myshopify.com, which I brought up a couple of times, but I know the first
we got it in the description.
Okay. Because I would say, and then I think they're slated to come out sometime next month, I believe.
Next month, yeah. Actually, funny enough, this morning I just got delivered the check disc.
There we go. Perfect timing.
That's what they look like, people. No,
amazing timing. And I really have to credit our authoring guys. They really push, because they do Imprint, they do all like the labels, and the guy there, he also works for, he runs the label Carmelian Films, and James, so he also runs the authoring company too. So he gets it, and he's like, John, I'll really push to get these. So basically I need to go through and QC and check them. And once again, I'm very OCD, so I'll be going through every sort of frame, every subtitle, every extra. And then once I give them the go-ahead, they're into production. Yes, like I said, Andrew, next month, we're aiming mid-October to get these in people's hands before Halloween. Once again, I'm sweating a bit, but like I said, there's a week or two delay. It is what it is, but you're really pushing to get them out in time.
Because I mean, people need to be watching Rubber's Lover for Halloween.
For Halloween, even Strange Circus is just as horrifying of a movie in terms of horror.
More disturbing, yes.
More disturbing. The first part of that movie is very squeamishly disturbing, probably for a lot of people. And I made sure to tell people about both Rubber's Lover and Strange Circus that these are not movies for everyone. Even your third release is also not something for everyone. That's even more extreme.
You got to Ratatouille it. You got to be like, not everybody could watch this movie, but
you really
anybody
have
could
to prep
enjoy
people.
it.
And I was actually having trouble kind of describing these to people because it's so unique and trying to want to skirt some certain graphic lines or whatnot. But the third release, not to kind of jump further, is kind of your most ambitious because I believe it's a multi-film animation box set.
Yeah.
Give us a little insight on that. Also, how do you pronounce it? Because I probably butchered it many, many times.
I know, yes. So a lot of people literally read it as Urosuki Doji, but it's pronounced Japanese because Mako would kill me if I get it wrong. It's Urosuki Doji. Urosuki Doji. Yeah.
I think that's right. I know. I think it's right. All right.
It's a lot better than what I was saying, which is what the first thing that you said.
The English, yeah, because English translate. But if you yeah, because if you can read it, because if you it's easy if you look at the hiragana letters, but yeah, it's very difficult. Urosuki Doji. And once again, that's our third release, and that's a title that the company who own Rubber's Lover, they also own that film as that series, and so it was kind of a thing where, because we did them such a huge favor in restoring Rubber's Lover, they said, "Oh, is there anything else you're interested in?" And once again, it's a case where I don't think these guys know what they have because I saw it and I went, "Urosuki Doji," and so yeah, so that was and. I said, "Oh, you've got the film." Yeah, we have the film version. We have the OVAs. We've got everything, got the entire series. And so originally I was just going to license the movie version, but I said, "No, look, we want to make this as definitive as possible. Let's license the entire series." And so what Urosuki Doji is basically it was based on a manga, and it was a so-called adult manga that came out in Japan, and basically it's this really amazing sort of world building story of like a world where there's demons and man beasts and humans in the sort of world, and it's sort of like a apocalyptic sort of tale, and some incredible imagination and creature designs, and basically there's a whole series, and originally they were made for like OVA, which is sort of a Japanese home video, but then because the first film was then cut down into a movie version, which is Legend of the Overfiend, that got a real notorious reputation worldwide. And once again, it's a film that stuck with me because I remember seeing it when I was younger, and it really kind of impacted me. And I went, "Oh my God, I love to release it one day," because I love it. Because I said it's up there with some of the great 80s animation, like Angel's Egg, Wicked City, Akira. Like Urosuki Doji is up there in terms of animation. It's stunning. And yeah, so it fell on our lap, and I just went, "Oh, I need this. Yeah, we'll license this title." And I was taking a risk because obviously there was a US release coming out, but we got a new master for the first film, a new 2K restoration. But yeah, it's an incredible, wacky, insane anime film, and it's one of the most notorious. And once again, it fits with our New Wave Video sort of extreme, notorious titles, and so that's definitely the most infamous. Oh yes, yeah, I showed Tony got a sneak peek at the new restoration. We watched it, and
nice.
Yeah, Tony and bless her, Tony's partner Natalie was there. She watched it too, and we all.
You have to be really comfortable with people you watch that with, because it's a movie that goes for it. I tried to explain to people this is an erotic manga. This is something that was, I believe, featured in like Playboy at the time. It's something that's of that length. So you got to be really comfortable watching this, and don't watch it in mixed company, essentially.
No.
And so I was able to watch the movie version of it. And what's interesting is doing my research and knowing that it was something that was like truncated version of a multi-part thing. You can tell the movie is a truncated part. Like it feels like there are parts missing. So it's very interesting kind of comparing the movie version to like a more elongated, multiple part thing, which runs, I believe, it's like 4 parts, I think. And then there was also sequels too that are not an adaptation of the manga, but they're kind of their own thing. So like I was saying, it's a very comprehensive type of release for you guys. Now, is that something you guys are aiming for like next year, or is that later this year?
Yeah, we were a bit ambitious. We said later this year, but upon looking, and it won't be ready till next year, because even just the box design alone, because we're actually partnering with the guys that make a lot of the hard boxes for the label, so it's going to be a real deluxe. And
you're speaking my language.
Yeah,
please.
And we're getting more material, and people actually reaching out to us saying, "Hey, I've got storyboards for part 3." They just sent me an email. I'm like, "Oh my God, some fan had it in their collection." So people are sending us more material. So we're just holding off and seeing what else we can get, because we want to make it really definitive and a really nice set and deluxe. But yeah, so it won't be until early next year. We were a bit ambitious saying this year, but once again, the great thing about us is we can take our time. We don't have someone breathing down our neck going, oh, where is it? Release it, get it out there to retailers. So we can really kind of take our time. So early next year. So yeah, it'll include a Legend of the Overfiend movie. It'll have the, like I said, Andrew, will have the OVA version as well, the extended sort of cut, which is more X-rated. There's more, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I read that too, and I'm like, this is already like extensively like X-rated. Like I couldn't, and this was like, oh no, this is the cut down, watered down version. And I'm like, wow, that's gonna be a little bit extreme for people. That's why I was like emphasizing this is not for everyone.
No.
Not in the least bit. And then most recently was Noriko's Dinner Table, which we talked about a little bit, which is by the same director as Strange Circus. So a little bit of a connection there. Was that like intentional? Like you had gotten the first film and you're like, we'll circle back and get some more?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, when we went over to Japan to interview Sion Sono, we were able to, he got us connected with some of the rights owners owns his other films, because then once again, they're kind of stuck in limbo as well. So so Noriko Dinner Table was one that I personally love, and it just, once again, I said this is one I really want to see released, because like you probably saw, Andrew, the old DVD was from a very bad master, and it's interlaced, and it looks really washed out, horrible. And the thing about the film was it was shot on this DV sort of cameras, and then they transferred it to film. So yeah, so it hasn't always looked great. So it's a film I've always wanted to give a release, because it's a film personally. Like I said, it's a prequel sequel to Suicide Club, so it's good to watch them both back to back. But yeah, it's a film that I just think is incredible, one that really needed a release, because it was kind of stuck in limbo, and the DVD was going for like $100 out of selling on eBay. But yeah, that's and once again, it personally has an attachment, because Sion Sono, I love all his films. I think he's one of the great filmmakers, and Noriko. I think I saw it at the right time, because you have to kind of see it, because obviously it's it's 2005, so I was seeing it towards the end of my adolescence was ending, and that's kind of a big theme of the film is Noriko and her innocence, and yeah, it just really, like when I first saw it, I was very teary-eyed. It's a very emotional film. I don't want to spoil much about it, but it's an incredible film and a real masterwork. But once again, stuck in limbo with the Japanese company. So we Sono got us connected with the rights owner, and we went out, we met them, and they said, yeah, look, we can license Noriko. That's fine. And so it was a huge win for us, because it's a big cult film, Noriko's Dinner Table, and it gets lumped in the J horror genre, but it's not really. It's more of a drama with horror, I think, elements sprinkled in. But it's an
A24. It's an A24 movie.
Exactly, it kind of is like an.
Yeah, Suicide. Yeah, I would even say Suicide Club is very much in that vein as well.
Very of it. Suicide Club. It's not.
Yeah, and Suicide Club, while you don't have to necessarily watch Suicide Club to watch Noriko's Dinner Table, it does help you give you more context of the world in which you're in. Yes. Because there is certain references within that, just for people listening to Chasing Labels and want to check out just Noriko's Club and not watch Noriko's Dinner Table and not Suicide Club. They're vastly different movies, but they're set in the same world, and they're dealing with similar themes. I put Noriko's Dinner Table on my on the notes list for today. That's why I'm kind of plugging it already. It's kind of give you a sneak peek of the rest of the Chasing Labels episode. But they're both very interesting movies that are kind of two sides of the same coin. Just kind of fascinating, like you were saying, Steve, kind of Japanese A24 before they existed.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah, it is.
That's cool, man.
And Suicide Club, it's definitely not, because people will see, Suicide Club, and they see blood splatter all over the cover, and they go into expecting like some sort of J horror, and they're quite shocked that it's actually more intelligent and more art house than what they were expecting. The same with Noriko, like it wasn't really advertised well. I think the DVD had a girl with blood all over her, and it was just like, and so people going in expect a splatter fest, but it's more of a very intelligent, like really deep drama about these characters and this family, and it's broken up into chapters, but. Yeah, just an amazing film. So we
very
were
psychological, yeah,
very psychological. Yes, psychological horror, and also dealing with at the time the breakdowns of traditional family, technology coming in, kind of disrupting the family, people chat rooms online, and this is ahead of its time before social media. People running away, joining cults and groups. So yeah, it's a real masterwork, and so that's number 4. And once again, we did get the negative for that, but like I said. It's a strange case because it was shot digitally and they transferred to film. The actual DV elements are gone. They threw them in the bin years ago, but we had a negative, like a 35 mil. So it's the best element. So we're doing a restoration, but I was blown away by how much better it looked than the other film. Once again, like I said, Andrew, and Stephen, these films are only 20 years old, but it was like a lifetime ago because the technology has changed so much. And so people don't think about rescuing 2005 films, but they need to be rescued because
it's a similar case to when we talked to Sean Baker. Some of his early films, they transferred them to film and then restored them, just because it's the best way that you got to. I mean, he shot them on very cheap, digital tape. So
much like Noriko. Same.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about, getting back to like kind of the overall new wave video kind of thing, aesthetic, like. What are some of the like standards like for like your releases? Like, for instance, like artwork, like, are you more new artwork or original artwork? Or when it comes to features, are you trying to go for as many features as possible? Are you standardly going to always have audio commentaries, things like that? Like what's some of the standards you want to build with your fan base?
Definitely, yeah. So with artwork, it's super important to me because I'm a big, physical media fan, and artwork I think is very important. So most of the time, and look, I'm very inspired by labels like Arrow Video when they do, like a nice slipcover and new, really cool artwork, or looking on the shelf like Umbrella, I love when there's new commissioned artwork. And so if there's a film where there's, not great artwork, we will commission a new artwork. So Rubber's Lover, it needed it because
I was going to say the Rubber's Lover. I thought, based off what you were saying at the beginning, it didn't have a lot to work with. So you needed to use an image that you created, and you picked the perfect one. The craziest thing that happens in the movie.
You would think that would be the thing was that
there are other things, but yeah.
Now, the more we talk about Rubber's Lover, I get kind of like almost PTSD flashbacks of watching it, and I'm like. That's some type of movie I try to explain to people. It's like you think it's reached its peak of insanity, and no, it just keeps building and building and building to the point where like you feel so numb to it all. You just like beat up in the corner like a beat up boxer or something. It's like that scene in in Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull where Robert De Niro's just taking the punches on the ropes and he's just dangling the ropes. That's what it's like watching Rubber's Lover at some point.
It is, yeah. And it's just, more insane. One insane scene after the next. And once again, it's a film that has so much great imagery. And so, but there's not great artwork for it. And so we reached out to, and for that release, I'm like, yeah, look, because I actually have an original Chirashi. It's just, and the original poster wasn't great. And Chosen, he wasn't too happy with it. The actual company that released it made that artwork without really consulting him. So with this new artwork, we wanted Chosen's approval as well. Chosen, so he completely approved the new artwork. We reached out to Lucas, and Lucas, they've done some amazing artwork for other labels, Arrow Video, 88 Films. And he did a really cool poster of Pinocchio, 1964 Pinocchio, and it was a really incredible. So I reached out, I said, would you like to do Rubber's Lover? And they said, oh, yeah, absolutely. Rubber's Lover is one of my favorite films of all time. And so, and then Lucas sent back some concept designs, 13 different, and we shared around with everyone involved with the release. So I reached out to Jasper, I shared it with Michelle Kisner, I said, look, which artwork do you think is the best? So everyone kind of had a hand in approving the artwork. And ultimately we settled with that new artwork, basically, which is awesome. And we haven't even shown the back yet, but it wraps around. And our slip covers are not going to have any text, they're just complete artwork all the way around. And that's how I want it, kind of like Vinegar Syndrome do. And then on the inside, we will have the original poster because, to keep people happy and myself as well. But yeah, so artwork is very crucial for us. And so we'll make a decision, but most of the time we will commission a new artwork. Strange Circus, it was a case where I loved the poster, and I actually got an original poster signed by Sono. Just the image of her with the roses and the daughter above. And so when you flip the slipcover over, it will have the daughter upside down on the other side. And we thought, look, this is fine. We don't need a new artwork. And Sono, he was happy. And once again, we consulted the director. We said, do you want new artwork? He said, no, I'm quite happy with the rose image. Cool. And so that was fine. But for release number 3, Uroski Doji, once again, there's so much great artwork for that. Like, we're kind of settled. But for Nautico, once again, really bad artwork and promotional materials for that film. So we're going to do a new artwork on that too. And once again, it's just a case of me looking at my collection, thinking, oh, who could I reach out to? And I check the art. Oh, it's this artist. I reach out to them, and so yeah, it's been really great. So artwork is really important to the releases, having newly commissioned art. But like I said, if it's an awesome poster like Udoski Doji with the demon over the city, that's it. You're fine. You don't need anything. But if it's not great, and then getting the releases together. So yeah, it's important to have the most, and our goal is to make the most comprehensive, complete version of the film. So we track down archival materials, interviews, extras, trailers, and so we want to commission new extras. And when you have a new wave release, we want to make it feel like it's a packed release, like Arrow Video or Indicator. Like you check the back, it's got a ton of extras. That's what we want, because we know there are fans of these films. So yeah, we definitely try and get new commentaries or extras, and once again, it's just a case of me reaching out to see people like Jasper Sharp, who is an expert in Japanese cinema. I know that he's a big fan of Shozen, and so I said, "Do you like to do Rubber's Lover?" He's like, "Yep, I'll do an intro." So he did an intro for us, and I know, once again, speaking, Michelle Kisner, I love her essays and her writing, so she did an essay for us. So I reached out to her, but yeah, we want to make sure it's a real, amazing package. That the most, because this is probably going to be the be all end all, because I feel like. Maybe they'll get picked up in the US or UK, but I think for the most part, it's not a lot of labels. They're not big tentpole titles, so people probably won't be putting the extra mile. And once again, going back to Udoski Doji, the US release, I don't want to say anything negative about it, but it's just the film. I think that's it, the film and maybe a trailer. And once again, it's like there's so much history with this anime. Like it has a rich history. There's so much artwork. There's so much stuff, and I just felt like it was kind of. And I get it. That's their business model. Their business model is to get it out quick, get it to retailers. They have a pipeline. Absolutely, that's fine. But for us, we want to make sure it's a really special release. So yes, each release is going to have new artwork, new extras, and like I said, the sort of, I guess, quote unquote, like Arrow Video treatment is what we're going for.
Yeah, I think it's really. I think for me, as somebody that looks at a label like this with this type of kind of. Mission for these obscure movies, I think it is really important, especially when it comes to like special features, to help bring context for people, because I think that's going to be some, like there's going to be people like me that will buy these blindly because that's what you do, and not even seeing it. So what will help me not feel like I regretted that decision is to you know what I mean, like is to get like a good video essay or something that helps, like an appreciation of some sort that helps you kind of understand what somebody else appreciates about the movie, so that maybe you can be on their wavelength. Because I think that's difficult. I think that's really important for because I'm thinking back to when we had Stephen Broomer on for his experimental label. I'm blanking on the name. Starts with a B, I believe. I'm blanking on the label. But he had all experimental films, and I was like, he did like all of his special features, and like tons of them. Like that's important, because if you don't do that, then you're really gonna just expect people to just like these movies for what they are, when maybe they're just trying to get into this. Black Zero, thank you, Humboldt. Black Zero,
yes,
So yeah, I think that's definitely key for a label like this. That's kind of like zoning in on this type of cinema. So I'm glad to hear that that it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives some context, and especially from like Strange Circuits, we know that it's like you said, Andrew, the first half an hour is like most people will turn off after half an hour. But once you get past that first third, the mystery unfolds, and you get into this sort of dark mystery, and it becomes a really compelling film. But the first third of it deals with like trauma and abuse, and for a lot of people, they would just switch off. So that's why when Suzanne did her essay, and I can't wait for people to see it, it's 40 minutes, but it really goes into deals with trauma and how serious Sono took the subject matter. It's not exploitation, because you could have a film about sexual abuse and it could just be exploitive, but Sono is quite restrained in the way he does it. She actually goes through she goes through incredible detail about how he takes the subject matter seriously. And so, yeah, it's like I said, it's a rough watch, but once you get past, and so we have to have these extras, because these films are, like I said, quite shocking. People might get upset with us if they see them, but as I said, watch the extras, get some context, and see it more as like I said, because we see these as works of art. And even Udoski Doji, yes, it's shocking, but you have to look at the craftsmanship behind it. And that's why we're getting a lot of extras more in the actual production, the craftsmanship of classic anime. And we're doing a documentary on the controversy of that as well, so people understand, like, this was a time and place. You couldn't make it today, that's for sure. But yeah, it's just we want to give context, so it's super important to have fully stacked, and that's what I want when I buy a release. I want stacked. And I get, look, if the cast and crew are gone or passed away, I get it. There's not much you can do, but at least have some visual essays and context. And the good thing is, a lot of these filmmakers, a lot of the films are going after sort of 80s or some 90s and 2000s. So it's a lot of the filmmakers are still around. So especially the 80s ones, they're still around to a degree, and we want to get these interviews while we can. So yeah, it's very important to have that like deluxe treatment, and it's worth, we'll gladly pay the extra expense to get all these extras under one release.
Awesome. New Wave Video, where's the inspiration for the name? And once you've kind of gotten yourself got some titles out, got yourself established, are there going to be sub labels? You're going to be do like the Black Label list or whatever? Is there going to be more sub labels?
Yeah, definitely. So, and I give Mako credit for that. She came up with the name. So we were, I think, on the way to a beach or something, or we were on the beach in Japan. I can't remember. And she said, "Oh, how about New Wave?" And we had a number of names, like kind of silly names. Like I remember there was a name like, I think, like Dreamcatcher Films or something, like all these kind of, and so New Wave sort of caught on because it's sort of.
I thought it was gonna be like an '80s rock, all '80s music films or something. I don't know, but
yeah. Also like French New Wave or something. Yeah. So yeah, it just kind of stuck, and I said, "That's and I said, yeah, that kind of stuck, and it was punchy. The more I thought about it, I said that's a good name, and there was I think there was a label years ago called New Wave Films in the UK, but they went bankrupt and they're long gone. So that's a different. But New Wave Video was available. So basically, so we took the name, and once again, I think more of a metaphor, like Mako. She came up with it because obviously we were very sort of beach themed, sort of city Sydney as well. But also, I think it was more like we're going to make an impact. That was her sort of thinking. We're going to make a new wave, like in the industry, like kind of blow out the water and just kind of like amaze people with these films. So yeah, just sort of have an impact. And so the label itself is right now focused on exploitation, horror, extreme, controversial films. But yeah, like I said, we love all types of films as well, and especially with myself and Mako, we watch a lot of films that we don't watch. Not everything we watch is horror. Like we watch a lot of art house, and so yeah, so there is plans to do a side label. We just haven't got a name yet, but more sort of for indie Japanese films, 90s, 2000s. Like there's these really great dramas and coming of age movies and really cute, like incredible films and comedies and dramas and we've acquired a title that won't fit in with New Wave, so we're definitely going to do a side label. But once again, New Wave's sort of our main flagship label, but then this side label's a bit of an experiment just to see. Obviously, they won't sell the units numbers. We'll definitely have lower print runs, but sort of we just want to get these sort of cult, sort of great, like Japanese dramas out there, and like I said, like sort of the stuff that you'd see on like I don't know, like Eureka Masters of Cinema, some of their more modern sort of, or sort of their sort of classic films as well. So yeah, and look, a New Wave, not saying that's all horror. There are we are going after 1970s and 60s Japanese films that do fit on New Wave because they've still got that genre punch to them, even though they're classics. And so we just have to make a decision which label it'll go on. But yeah, we were looking to plan and branch off and create sort of a little mini, I know, like sort of a little mini Criterion type label, more sort of dedicated to those sort of labels.
I knew you couldn't help yourself, man. I knew it.
I know.
He loves all these labels. All of them have sub labels. Most of them do. And
they do.
He's going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, also, you guys are, I believe you're numbering each of them individually and whatnot. And are these going to have, how are you kind of basing how many units to make per release? Is it just based off of like interest of people, or is there like a set number you're going with off the bat?
Yeah, it's really tough because the minimum we have to, obviously, because these are professionally pressed, we have to do 1,000 minimum print runs. So just the engagement on the audience, and look, based on the response, it's been very positive. And so we may even up the print runs, because originally we said 1,200 and 1,000, but based on the reception we're seeing, and also through the retailers as well, because we signed with the distributors, got them into Brother Belial and Diabolic, and you can pick them up in the US as well, which is great. So you don't have to pay for our shipping. But yeah, so we're based on that. You just sort of have to take a guess, and the things we may do a standard edition later on, but right now it's sort of like if you want the slipcover, the spine number, the booklet, then obviously it's a limited run. But we might do a vanilla edition later on down the track. But it's hard. So we don't want to, and that's the thing. And I was speaking to my friend Danny about this as well, because he did the Anchor Bay doco. He said you don't want to be stuck with a warehouse filled with the stuff. So you have to be very smart. And you see these labels, I don't want to, have a dig at them, but you see them having these, 10 for 10 sales. You're like, oh my God, like that's not, that's at a loss. And so you've got to be very careful with how many you print, because you don't want a warehouse with 7,000 of them. And just to touch on Rubber's Lover, we did explore I know there's obviously, 4K UHD. We did explore that title as a 4K. And once again, we did an actual, rated a full-on UHD, HDR test for us. We did a test. We did a comparison side by side. The difference is so minimal. And I stress the 16 millimeter, it's so minimal. And for us, I was like, look, I just can't justify that expense. And 4K is triple the cost of a Blu-ray. And I don't know how it is in the US, but you also over here, you need to press 5,000 units if you're doing a 4K. Jeez. And so for us, that's bankruptcy territory. And so we have to be smart. And so Rubber's Lover, we went with the Blu-ray because it's a 16 mil film. It's not like, so if we had a huge 35 millimeter film, absolutely, and there is a title where we're in talks to acquire it. It's a big title and it's 35 mil. I'm considering a 4K for that. But for smaller films, it's a big financial risk. And so, we need to be very smart and that's why I said Danny's been a massive help, because he's worked in home video for many years. So we kind of sat down, did the numbers, did the books, and we're just like, okay, this print run should be a safe number. So it's just kind of feeling it. And look, we can always press more, but we don't want to upset people. Once it's gone, it's gone. So we're definitely going to stick to our numbers of the 1,000 to 1,500 sort of range is where we're quite comfortable with.
And they will be, like I said, you can order them from your website, but they will be over here in US retailers eventually.
Oh, they So they are now. So through Diabolic, you can get through Brother Belial, Orbit DVD as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
that's my go-to Orbit.
Yeah, I just don't want to miss out on the limited edition thing, because once I have, I'm notorious for waiting too long and then scrambling when they become sold out everywhere. That happens to me a lot.
Well, I'm the same. And recently, because the past year, obviously, I've had to cut back on my spending in physical media because of the expenses and restoration and getting the business off the ground. And the thing is, because I was holding off on a few titles like the Dollars trilogy from Arrow, I held off, and then I freaked out when I found out they were almost sold. And then I was scrambling to and I managed to get copies, but it's just like I've got to be more on it. But in terms of we're going to get our numbers back from our distributor, so I can safely say they won't sell out in pre-sale, so there will definitely be copies for the US audience. But feel free to support Orbit DVD. Once again, they actually help us a lot, because we appreciate everyone who bought direct, but obviously if you can get it through your local retailer, and once again, the guys who's the distributor, they do the distribution for Imprint, for Umbrella, so we're pretty much in their portal. So when Orbit goes on, we'll add a new wave to our next order as well. So it's great. It kind of works out for us. So you can get it to UK. We haven't quite cracked yet any retailers, but you can for US and obviously down here in Australia, you can you can get it. Definitely get it on the website.
Well, man, this all sounds great, man. I'm so happy for you, man. I'm happy for you and Mako getting this together and excited to see where it all goes, man. It's like I've said to others that have, made their waves. I'm not even making a pun there. Made their waves into the industry from just being, enthusiasts of physical media, talking together, and then now jumping into the deep end themselves. I'm happy to see it, man. I'm happy to see everybody doing stuff that I know they love. So congratulations, man.
No, really appreciate it. It is a real passion project, and once again, we've spent, it's been a lot of work, but we're almost at the finish line for these first two, and right now we're working on other titles too. So we'll see how we go. Like I said, we're just taking it each at our own strand, and like I said, it's just a personal mission to rescue these, and because originally when we acquired Rubbers, it really got difficult for us, and I was at the point where it's like, should I maybe, and I spoke to Mako, like, should we just maybe give it to another label, be the middleman? But I said, no, look, let's do this. And we pushed through, because there was a number of issues with the elements. But anyway, we got there in the end, but it was definitely a lot of effort, but yeah, it was worth just to get off the ground. And yeah, so we're excited to reveal what's coming up soon. We'll definitely announce more as soon as we get, because we don't announce too much until we get the next 2 out, and then we'll announce some more. So we just want to kind of drip feed them. But yeah, we're definitely going after some big titles, and right now we're working on Uroski Doji, getting the subtitles correct for that. So yeah, once again, I have to credit Mako. She's going through frame by frame, watching that series and kind of writing it down, like, and with a straight face, writing me notes like, when the demon rapes the nurse, he should be saying this. This is inaccurate.
Yeah,
man,
that's the toughest job.
That's love, there, guys. That's love.
That's dedication.
That's real love.
Yes. So yeah, it's dedication. So yeah, and we want to make sure these are accurate releases and the best. So yeah, so look, I appreciate the kind words, and we're very excited to share these with people. And I just can't wait to have them in hand, because it's just been such a long process, and we're almost there. And so yeah, we're just at the manufacturing stage.
You just want to collect more Blu-rays. You're like, I just want to make my own so I can put more on my shelf.
Exactly.
I get it, man. It's a really long way to do it, but I mean, fine, whatever. But once again, congratulations. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking your time out, and get back over there, man. Get back to translating some demon stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've got these checklists, and I'll have them. Hopefully this week I'll be able to sign off on them, and then we'll get them off to the manufacturer, and we'll have them in hand. Once again, there's always delays, so I'm not, because I've seen a lot of labels in the US have been hit recently with some delays. So like TerraVision, Era 444, massive delays on their one. So look, it is what it is. It's just, we'll see what we can do, but we're hoping to have them in hand so we can get it to people, and I just want to get them shipped out the door so people can enjoy them firsthand.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, John, you have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you around. We'll see you soon. We got some other things we got.
Yeah, I'll be back on.
Yeah. All right, John.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was fantastic. John Matthews talking to us about New Wave Video. I'm definitely like sold on. I mean, I'm trying to be more responsible. I'm trying to watch more stuff before I buy it. So I do probably want to watch a couple of these. You'll have to help me with that, because you've obviously found a way to watch some of these.
Right.
But I've seen Rubber's Lover, and it is an insane movie, and I kind of want it. So because it's got to go right there next to Tatsuya on the shelf,
Yeah. Very much in the same vein as Tetsuo the Iron Man. And also, just as a collector, I like having number ones. The number ones of something. Yeah. That always gets me as a collector.
You should do a whole section of your shelf of number ones from every label. So like you could you could put Rubber's Lover next to Grand Illusion.
Yeah, I know. I was just gonna say number one for Criterion is Grand Illusion, and the only way you can get it is on DVD and Laserdisc, I think.
For now.
And yeah, for now, I would love if Criterion would get their hands back on Grand Illusion, just so you can have that number one in pristine Blu-ray 4K format.
I think that's going to happen sometime soon. I think
they've gotten stuff back in the collection in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised.
We know that's got a 4K restoration.
I mean, just for prestige alone, you'd think they'd want to do it. Yeah. Spare no expense. Get their number one back. Could you imagine just it markets itself? Get the number one Criterion numbered release. It'll get it while it's hot.
It'll happen one day, but I'm sure you're going to talk more Criterion later.
I will.
But that is it for my part of this. I am not doing the whole show. Sorry, guys. I'm going to let Andrew.
As much as we would want you to. Steven is not prepared for a 3-hour tour.
I mean, I could bullshit it, but I mean, but no, I do have time limit. So I have to go, but I appreciate everybody. If you enjoyed my part of this, hopefully you did. But hopefully I'll be, maybe we'll do more of these, and I'll be popping in. But let me let Andrew get to the physical media releases for the last couple weeks, including them Criterions that were announced today. So everybody, thank you, and see you later.
See you later. Okay, let me move myself back into center frame. So that was nice, getting to see our good friend John Matthews. We've been talking about new wave video here on Chasing Labels over the last several episodes. It's nice to, like I said, put a name and face to the label. So you have heard about what's been cooking over there with new wave video. We got to talk about a little bit about Noriko's Dinner Table, which is their number 4 release. And then now I will transition into what we typically do here on Chasing Labels, which is talk about some of the boutique and the boutique home video releases from the last 2 weeks or so. All of those announcements, um, and it'll be stuff that I'm interested in, stuff you may be interested in, stuff I want to add to my collection at some point. Like I was just saying, I typically take way too long to be adding things to my collection. Sometimes the limited edition things do tend to sell out fast. Speaking of which, I do have a little bit of a movie collection update from my end, which is how we typically start out here. Some things here, not many. I randomly picked this up on eBay for a very absurdly cheap price of like $5, and this is the movie Boy Erased on Blu-ray, which came out several years ago. And this is the movie that stars Lucas Hedges, Nicole Kidman, Russell Crowe. It's directed by Joel Edgerton. Coincidentally, we were just talking to our friend John Matthews from Australia, Joel Edgerton from Australia as well, and I really like him as a director. He's a really good actor, but also a really good director too. There was the movie that came out several years ago, actually, called The Gift, which I saw in theater, and that was his first movie that he ever directed. He also starred in that movie, and it was him and Jason Bateman, and that was a really fantastic movie called The Gift. Well, I believe this was his second movie that he directed, called Boy Erased. Really, really good as well. Some other things that I picked up here recently. Summer Rental, John Candy film Summer Rental. We talked about this when it was announced from Kino Lorber uh, several months ago, several episodes ago. And this came out a little earlier in the year, and I finally picked it up. What is interesting, if you want it with the slipcover, it's becoming really tough to get it with the slipcover. So if you can track it down and get it while you can. If you're a slipcover fanatic like I am, you may want to do that. But this is the John Candy movie that came out, I believe, back in the 80s, if I remember correctly. And the reason why I wanted to pick this up not only is because it's John Candy, I want to get more John Candy in my collection, but also that there's a John Candy documentary coming out that's about his life and career. So I figured, why not get some John Candy in the collection? And then one thing I don't think I talked about this last time is I finally got this in my collection after searching for a year or two. That is The Boy and the Heron. Speaking of Japanese cinema, we just talked about Japanese cinema with our friend John Matthews. And we talked about Japanese animation, but this is a little bit way radically different. This is The Boy and the Heron. This is Hayao Miyazaki's most recent film. This is the 4K UHD release of this movie. I believe it's the first 4K UHD release of any Studio Ghibli film. Uh, and what is interesting is this movie isn't tough to find, but it's tough to find with the slipcover. There is a steelbook edition of this, and as well as all of the other Studio Ghibli films. Those are easy to find for the most part, especially this. I'm pretty sure if you go to like a random Walmart store right now, they will have a copy of this movie on 4K UHD steelbook. But trying to find this with the slipcover was really, really hard, and I finally was able to see one pop up on eBay, and that didn't cost an absurd amount of money. So I'm glad I finally got this in the collection. I'm trying to catch up on a bunch of other Studio Ghibli films that I haven't gotten yet, but slowly but surely I will get there. Now, what else do I have? Oh, couple of box sets. So I'm slowly putting together, plugging some holes in my Radiance collection, which we will be talking about Radiance on today's show, coincidentally. And I went way back to, I think, one of the editions they released during their first year. This is the Commedia all'Italiana box set. This is a 3-movie Italian film box set that has Il Sorpasso, Il Mattatore, and Il Vedovo. I talked about this when it was announced, I want to say 2 years ago. I think this came out about 2 years ago, and I finally was able to get it. This is now out of print, so luckily I was able to find this in stock on one of the online boutique retailers. I forget where I bought it from. It was either Diabolic or Grindhouse Video. I think it was Diabolic may have had a couple of these left in stock, but I was able to get this, so now I'm slowly but surely covering my Radiance section in my collection, and I'm still trying to stick to this idea that once I get the first like 1 through 50 Radiance complete, I want to do like just an overview of my Radiance shelf of all the Radiance releases that I have. I have more than that, more than the first 50, but I figured that's a good goal to have. Why not? Because I know, it'll be something that'll be relatively solid to show on camera. Another box set from Radiance is the World Noir Volume 2. Now, getting the World Noir Volume 1 is a little bit tricky. Luckily, I was able to buy the World Noir Volume 2. I think Orbit DVD had this in stock. I think it was them. And I was able to snag a copy. This is also out of print as well. Remember when I was just saying that I wait too long for limited editions to go out of stock and out of print, and then I have to scramble to get them? These are two examples of that. these are two examples of me being my worst collector self. But this is a really good box set of Black Gravel, Symphony for a Massacre, and Cruel Gun Story. And I believe these are all like Japanese noir films. Yeah, these are Japanese noir films because I watched Cruel Gun Story on the Criterion Channel. And the Criterion Channel had like a whole Japanese noir collection on there. And I just delved into that one late night when I was looking for things to watch, and I watched Cruel Gun Story. But yeah, that's almost everything. One more quick little update. So Vinegar Syndrome was having their like late summer sale. I talked about it last time, actually. Coincidentally, I placed this order during the previous episode of Chasing Labels, during episode number 172. I placed this order at the very end, right before the sale ended, and then this showed up, and I completely forgot I placed the order, actually. So when this showed up, I was like, what could these possibly be? And I got 3 releases from that sale at Vinegar Syndrome. First up here is Keep an Eye Out. This is by The Catalog. I talked about this years ago. Cool little French-Belgian indie satire movie that I really enjoyed. And the next is In Between Girl by Utopia. Now, this is a coming-of-age indie film that's more recent. I think it's from 2019, maybe earlier. Wish they would put the dates on here. Oh, they do. 2019. I was right. And I've been wanting to pick this up for the longest time. And these were on sale for very cheap because their late summer sale had things that went all the way from like 10% off to 75% off. So both this and Keep an Eye Out were 75% off. So they were like under $10 a piece. So I could not pass up that price. And then I decided to get one of the Cinematograph releases, and this is Go Fish. This is the 9th Cinematograph release. I don't have them all. I'm kind of picking and choosing which ones I want to get, and I'm also waiting for them to go on sale, essentially. But this is a really, really good LGBTQ plus queer cinema indie film from the 90s. Think of The Watermelon Woman. Think of movies like that. Came out in 1994, which was the same year as Clerks. Has a similar type of indie budget, super low budget, super cheap. Mostly a movie about people having conversations and talking, kind of similar in that regard. Guinevere Turner, I believe, was a co-writer and producer on this film. And Guinevere Turner was also in The Watermelon Woman, coincidentally. So there's that direct connection there. Guinevere Turner also, I believe, wrote the script for American Psycho, another favorite of mine. And yeah, so this is the movie Go Fish. This is the Cinematograph release that has its lovely digibook style packaging, where you have the disc plus, book attached, if you will. And yeah, this is Justin La Liberty's passion project over at Vinegar Syndrome. He manages the partner labels, but this is his own like little passion project label of his own, putting out movies that he wants to see get physical releases. So that's the movie Go Fish. So now that is everything. So that's a little bit catch up there. And then now, as I said, all this aside, we will get into what we usually get into here on Chasing Labels, and that is the announcements, but now I've got to go over and look for these announcements because I didn't set up my tabs beforehand like I should have. But I do want to start with Warner Archive because they actually had their announcements today. Officially today, they announced there were a couple that got announced a couple of days ago that popped up on Blu-ray.com, and then today Warner Archive put out their full list of movies. And so bear with me here because I got to scroll down through their Facebook page because they literally just announced this 4 hours ago. So these are their October releases. Okay, so we've got The Master of Belentre, Out of the Fog, which stars Ida Lupino and John Garfield. I've seen that movie. It's very good. We have a movie here starring Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda, and that is The Mad Miss Manton. Then we have a movie starring Clark Gable, William Powell, and Myrna Loy, Manhattan Melodrama. Let's see, produced by David O. Selznick, directed by W.S. Van Dyke. I'm very interested in that. And then we've got A Summer Place, which I know a lot of people are familiar with. I believe that's a melodrama from 1959. I've seen it several years ago. This movie stars, I think, Troy Donahue and Sandra Dee. Yes. Let me move on from there. And then we've got the movie Lovely to Look At, starring Red Skelton. Yes, Red Skelton, Howard Keel, Katherine Grayson, Ann Miller. Let me move. Yeah, and then we have Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins. Now, this movie stars Alan Arkin, Sally Kellerman, and Mackenzie Phillips. And then we have The Racket, which stars Robert Mitchum, Elizabeth Scott, and Robert Ryan. I've seen this movie. This is, I believe, a film noir from 1951. Yeah, but we'll talk a little bit more about that because I've been trying to get like every Robert Mitchum movie in my collection, but that is all of them. That is all of them. So let's start in reverse order. Let's talk about The Racket. I got to see. I've luckily I've gotten to see some of these movies in the past, but my memory not being so recollective. Let me move some stuff aside, and yeah, let's talk about The Racket. So The Racket, like I said, stars Robert Mitchum, Robert Ryan, and Elizabeth Scott in 1951. Let's see. Nick Scanlon, Robert Ryan, is an old-fashioned kind of gangster. If someone crosses you, settle it with a fist or a bullet. Tom McQuigg, Robert Mitchum, is an old-fashioned kind of cop. Grab the bad guy, not the bribe. But they are both living in a corrupt new world on both sides of the law. Efficient, green-eye shade types who run a crime ring like a corporation. Like a corporation. They will not mind if Scanlon and Tom McQuigg square off if they bring each other down. So basically, you've got, a crook, a gangster and a cop going at each other, and I believe the Elizabeth Scott character is kind of the femme fatale mixed in there somewhere. That's what I remember The Racket being. Unfortunately, they don't list any special features for this. Let me see if I can go over to Blu-ray.com and see if there's any special features. There is a list on Blu-ray.com of these Warner Archive releases, but it's incomplete. They don't have the updated stuff. They don't even have any special features announced on there. Okay. So, not helpful. Not helpful. So we'll just kind of, typically the Warner Archive releases are not typically stacked with special features unless they're like a brand new special release, like we've seen with the like we've seen with The Curse of Frankenstein and stuff like that. They're 4K releases essentially. The Searchers being another one. So like we really don't see a lot of special features, so we're not really missing out on too much. Unfortunately, like I said, with this just getting announced earlier today, I'm kind of scrambling. Oh, there is a special features. Hold on. Commentary by Turner Classic Movies host Eddie Muller, and original theatrical trailer. So we get a commentary with Eddie Muller, the Czar of Noir, who was a guest here on Chasing Labels 3 years ago in, I would say, May of 2022. We had the Czar of Noir, Eddie Muller, here on Chasing Labels. One of the highlights of my life, needless to say. But next, let's talk about the movie Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins, starring Alan Arkin. Let's see. So this is a movie I watched last night, and so you have Alan Arkin is kind of this, uh, kind of down. I would say down on his luck, but kind of a boring guy who's not really doing much with his life at all. He's he's kind of like middle of the road doing nothing with his life, and then one day these two women drifters uh they like confront him, and they basically they kidnap him, and they want him to drive them to New Orleans. And along the way they have various stops, like they stop in Vegas, they stop in Arizona to get to New Orleans because they want to do like a singing performance. And it's a road trip comedy drama, if you will, with Alan Arkin, Sally Kellerman, and Mackenzie Phillips. Um, yeah, that's basically what it is. At one point, Harry Dean Stanton pops up in there at one point. It's a really like low key, underseen, I think, underrated, perhaps not really talked about Alan Arkin film from the 70s. Surprisingly to me, it's not really available to stream or watch anywhere. I don't even know if it's gotten a DVD release in the past, which is fascinating to me because Alan Arkin is pretty prominent. He's an Oscar winner. Let's see. Let's see if Rafferty. Yeah, I don't think Rafferty and the Goldust Twins has. I don't even. Yeah, it doesn't even have a DVD release. Yeah, there's no DVD release of it anywhere. So this is a first time physical media release in general. Coincidentally, this is the second movie that Jerry Bruckheimer has a producer's credit on. He's an associate producer of this back in the day, and this movie came out in, oh boy, when did this come out? 1975, I think? 1975. Okay, so if you know Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer of like many 90s thrillers, 90s action movies, uh, he was a producer on this movie back in 1975, an associate producer, but still gets the credit. It's on his IMDb. It's there. It's there. But no special features here, which kind of makes sense. The movie's never been on physical media before. But that is Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins. So a road trip movie from the 70s. Next, taking a completely different uh, avenue here when it comes to movies, is an MGM Technicolor spectacle from the 1950s, and this is a movie musical. This is lovely to look at, starring Red Skelton, Katherine Grayson, and Howard Keel. And yeah, let me see if I can read this off here. Excuse me. Let's see. In this delightful 1952 musical comedy, a remake of the earlier musical hit Roberta, that came out in the 1930s actually, legendary director Mervyn LeRoy brings together an all-star cast with superb Jerome Kern melodies and spectacular dance numbers. The story finds would-be Broadway producers Red Skelton, Howard Keel, and Gower Champion, who decide to raise money by selling Skelton's half-interest in a Parisian dress salon. When they fly to Paris to meet the co-owners, Katherine Grayson and Marge Champion, they soon discover the salon is as down and out as they are. So what happens is you've got these Broadway producers who they needed money to put on a show, and they don't have the money. Just so happens to find that one of these guys, his aunt has passed away and has left him a stake in this Parisian fashion salon in France. So they go over there thinking, hey, we can just, sell off our interest or just sell it in general, and we'll be making money. We'll have enough money to put on our show. Well, lo and behold, they go there. There are these two women who are running the salon. One happens to be the adopted daughter of the woman who passed away, and turns out that they cannot sell it. They can't sell it because if they do sell it, I think some company will then be able to take it over or something like that. It's one of those things. So they decide that they're going to stay there, and they're going to build it up and fix it up and make money from it somehow. But meanwhile, they get into a bit of a love story starts happening with the two women who are running the fashion salon there. And then like romantic and comedy and things ensue. If you know who Red Skelton is, you kind of understand the physical comedy, you understand the comedy in general. Red Skelton is probably a name a lot of you don't know of. Red Skelton ran a various variety shows on television from like 1951 to 1971 or so. And he was a kind of a big time name in uh comedy variety acts of God, going back to the 1940s, going back to radio days. He was a big time star in that. Like I said, he was on television doing a Red Skelton variety show in some form for 20 years. I know my parents grew up on it. My mother knows who Red Skelton is. She was born in the late 1950s, and she grew up watching Red Skelton on television and whatnot. I think you can buy one of the first DVDs I ever bought was like a compilation DVD of like the best of the Red Skelton show, and this was back 2001, 2002, around there when DVDs are first starting. I just randomly found a compilation Red Skelton show DVD at my local pharmacy, and I bought it just because I wanted DVDs at the time. And that was the gestation of me collecting, I guess, physical media on disc, if you will, the early 2000s when DVDs kind of first started becoming a thing. So Red Skelton is a name I've known for the last 25 years or so, and it's nice to see him, see some of his movies pop up and whatnot. And it's interesting how the comedy variety show has been part of television history since the 1950s or even earlier, since really television's become a thing. And we've seen all the way up to this day. They just had the Emmys the other night. They gave out an Emmy award for it. So yeah, it's very interesting. I know Saturday Night Live has been around since the 70s. They just celebrated their 50th anniversary, their 50th season and whatnot. So you've got this really kind of charming musical comedy romance movie. That's perfectly fine. It's fine. Towards the end, there's this beautiful musical dance technicolor sequences that are lovely. But the movie, I think, is overall rather fine. I can't wait to see what it looks like on Blu-ray. It probably looks incredible. Let me see what we got here for special features. Classic MGM Tom and Jerry cartoon, Dog Trouble. That's it. And yeah, Dog Trouble, and then Pete Smith specialty, Have You Ever Wondered, and then original theatrical trailer, and that is it. Let's see. Oh, A Summer Place. Okay. So A Summer Place, I've seen crawling around on DVD for many, many years. This is a movie. Let's see. Troy Donahue and Sandra Dee star as two young lovers whose relationship catalyzes the end of their parents' marriages during a vacation on a Maine island. A Summer Place, young, innocent, and in love on an idyllic island, Johnny and Molly face the anger and guilt unleashed by the dissolution of their parents' relationships after Molly's father rekindles an affair he had with Johnny's mother before either was married. Now can young love survive as Johnny and Molly witness the enmity that has replaced the passion their parents once felt in this classic romance. Directed with style and panache by Delmer Daves. Oh, nicely done. I think it was this. Yeah, this was a big box office success back in the day, back in 1959. It's very much part of that 1950s melodrama, if I do recall. It's been a few years since I've seen this movie, but I do remember liking it enough. And I know this movie is also kind of well known amongst classic Hollywood movie fans as well. Let's see what we have for special features. Classic cartoon, A Witch's Tangled Hair, and original theatrical trailer. Hair is spelled Hare. I'm assuming it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon. That's what I'm assuming. Next, we've got a movie that I have not gotten to see yet, but it stars three people that I am a big fan of. A big fan of in the sense like every time they're in a movie, I want to watch the movie. Gets me to watch the movie. Clark Gable, William Powell, and Myrna Loy in Manhattan melodrama. So this movie is, let's see, where 1934. Yeah, 1934. That makes sense. So that's around the same time as the Thin Man movies were coming out and things like that. Let's see. Manhattan melodrama holds a special place in movie lore. It is the film notorious gangster John Dillinger saw with his mystery Lady in Red before exiting the theater and walking right into an FBI ambush. Even without that momentous historical footnote, Manhattan Melodrama would be a film to reckon with because Clark Gable, William Powell, and Myrna Loy, three of the greatest stars ever to shine in the MGM heavens, bring to memorable screen life this Oscar winning for Best Original Story about boyhood pals who end up on opposite sides of the law, who fall for the same woman. Yeah, the film marked the only pairing of rugged Cable and Urbane Powell, and it marked the first ever teaming of frequent partners Powell and Lloyd. Director W.S. Van Dyke liked what he had seen of the Powell-Lloyd chemistry. Uh, over the over the objections of Louis B. Mayer, he cast them next in his low-budget detective film, The Thin Man. The rest, as is much associated with this fine film, is history. So the first pairing of Myrna Loy and William Powell is in this movie, Manhattan Melodrama. That's really awesome to see. I've got my Thin Man collection literally right behind me. He's literally right here. All the Thin Man movies right there on Glorious Blu-ray from Warner Archive. And yeah, I'm always a sucker for that pairing on screen, so I will definitely be buying this. It's a no-brainer for me. Let's see what we have here for special features. My guess, let me see. So classic MGM shorts, The Big Idea, and The Roast Beef and the Movies, and an original theatrical trailer. So nothing much going on there. So next we've got Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda in the Mad Miss Manton. That's what I should say. The zany screwball comedy classic finds Barbara Stanwyck starring as Dizzy heiress Melsa Manton. Melsa and her manicured band of Park Avenue pranksters think Manhattan is an amusement park built just for them. When Melsa stumbles across a murder victim, the pranksters decide to play detective. The only trouble is the murderer is playing too, for keeps. Henry Fonda is Gotham reporter Peter Ames, who falls headlines over heels for Melsa. They're destined for romance with a few detours on the way, including a missing body, a safecracker, a charity ball rife with motives, and mystery as well as another corpse. It's a witty madcap whodunit. Leave it to Stanwyck and Fonda to show exactly how it's done. Who directed this? I don't think it says it. Let me see if I can look up who directed this. I'm just curious. Let's see. Yeah, I'm on IMDb right now. Mad Miss Manton. 1938. Oh, Lee Jason. I don't know who that is. Yeah, I don't know who that is. I was just looking to see if I could see their IMDb, but IMDb is not cooperating right now. I'm not going to force it to do anything. Oh, okay. Nope, nothing. I thought it would be someone I knew, but no, not no one I know. Either way, let's see what we have for special features. We have classic cartoons, The Penguin Parade, and we've got and Porky the Gob. There you go. Two classic Looney Tunes cartoons, I'm assuming. Next, we've got a movie called Out of the Past starring Ida Lupino and John Garfield. Now, this is a movie I have seen from 1941. I love Ida Lupino. I love John Garfield. So I would definitely give this a recommendation for me. So John Garfield and Ida Lupino star in the big screen adaptation of the Irwin Shaw's play The Gentle People, a pre-World War II allegory warning of the seductive allure and danger inherent in pretending the looming danger of fascism could be ignored. In a small fishing town, the local people are relentlessly threatened by our local thug, Harold Goff, John Garfield. The menacing Goff extorts cash each week for protection, yet the townspeople feel it is better to pay and turn the other cheek than risk violence. But everything begins to change when the town tailor, Johann Goodwin, discovers his daughter, Ida Lupino, has become attracted to Goff, who she thinks will be her ticket to escape her dull small-town life. Sometimes things are not what they seem. Let's just see. Let's see. Buttressed by a sharp screenplay by Robert Rosen and Jerry Wald, and sturdy direction from Anatoly Litvak, Out of Fog is a prescient and powerful story worthy of rediscovery. Yeah, it's very good. It's a very good movie. For special features, it's 2 classic WB cartoons, The Heckling Hare and Hollywood Steps Out, and the original theatrical trailer. Let's see. Next up here, we have The Master of Ballantrae, which is an Errol Flynn film, I think. 'Cause I haven't seen it. Let's see, from 1953. The gleam in his eye matches that of his drawn sword. Errol Flynn, the greatest of swashbuckling stars, triumphs again in The Master of Ballantrae. In his final swashbuckling adventure for Warner Brothers, Flynn portrays Ballantrae Castle's Jamie Durstare, a heroic Highlander turned pirate in a colorful version of Robert Louis Stevenson's masterwork of gallantry. William Keighley, who directed Flynn in The Prince and the Pauper and The Adventures of Robin Hood, delayed his retirement from movie making to guide this lavish adventure shot on location in Scotland, including the Eilean Donan Castle, the Cornwall section of England, and Sicily by 2-time Oscar winner Jack Cardiff. Oh, wow. And what a rousing adventure it is, on guard movie fans. So the fact that this was shot by Jack Cardiff automatically makes me interested in seeing this. Jack Cardiff was a master cinematographer. He worked with Powell and Pressburger, and he was such a pioneer of Technicolor. He shot The Black Narcissus, which is a stunning movie. He shot The African Queen. He shot War and Peace. I want to see if he shot The Red Shoes as well. That may have also been Jack Cardiff. Let me see. Go back to the 1940s here. Yes, he also shot The Red Shoes, which I think is one of the most stunning movies ever made. So I recently I think I rewatched it for my birthday this past year because I have the 4K from Criterion. I wanted to see how it looked. Spoiler alert, it looks amazing. That movie looks so, so beautiful. The restoration that they did for that movie for the DVD and the Blu-ray is astonishing. And now for the 4K, it looks even better. Just an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous movie. And yeah, I love The Red Shoes. It's one of my favorite movies ever made. So Jack Cardiff shot this movie, The Master of Ballantrae. Makes me want to see it. It's a swashbuckling Errol Flynn film. It's kind of my thing. Kind of want to see it. For special features, classic cartoons, Bully for Bugs, and Plop Goes the Weasel. It's interesting. They did this a lot with these are carryovers from the DVDs. Typically, when you see these classic Warner Brothers cartoons, are typically old MGM cartoons, are typically Looney Tunes cartoons. These were on the DVDs, so they just ported them over. I'm curious if some of these are also in the collections that they've been putting out recently with Looney Tunes, with whether it be the Platinum collections that they've re-released, or whether it be from the Choice collections that they put out, or this new Vault collection that they put out. I'm curious if some of those are in there as well. I haven't done a lot of that cross-sectioning, but what I can tell you, there is another animated release here that I do want to talk about. It's not something that we typically talk about here on Chasing Labels, but I figure since I'm running the show, we might as well talk about them. And this is, it's not even on my list. Hold on. It's in my, the Tom and Jerry, the Golden Era Anthology, 1940 to 1958. Now, let me go and look this up, because these do have a crossover with a current release of Tom and Jerry cartoons. Excuse me. Here we go. So, let's see. Let's see. Here it is. So, coming to Blu-ray on December 2nd from the Warner Archive Collection, Tom and Jerry, the Golden Era Anthology, 1940 to 1958. Collectors can now experience the timeless comedy and artistry of one of animation's most celebrated rivalries when the Warner Archive Collection releases Tom and Jerry, the Golden Era Anthology on Blu-ray and DVD on December 2nd, 2025. For the first time ever, all 114 theatrical shorts originally created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera are brought together in one definitive collection, offering the ultimate way to revisit every chase, gag, laugh that defined generations. This is going to be a 6-disc collection on Blu-ray includes all 114 theatrical shorts in, high definition, and 20 audio commentaries on 5 discs, with a 6th disc dedicated to more than 3 hours of bonus features, including 2 all-new, never-before-seen featurettes of Lady of the House, The Story of Mammy Two Shoes, and Animal Hijinks, The Friends and Foes of Tom, and a collectible 28-page booklet with artwork and essays. My guess is this is going to sell very, very fast. So if there's a pre-order for this that pops up and you see it, you may want to jump on it if you're a big fan of classic animation like I am, or as many of you are. And we've been clamoring to get the Tom and Jerry cartoons on Blu-ray for many, many years. Several years ago, there was one Blu-ray set that was put out. I think it was the Showcase. I'm on Blu-ray.com right now. Let me see if I can find it. Tom and Jerry Showcase, which I think was put out 2012, maybe. Let me see. Tom and Jerry. Let's see. Showcase. Nope, it wasn't Showcase. Then what was it? Well, then I didn't spell Tom and Jerry right. You got to put the symbol, not the word. Let's see. Oh, it was the Golden Collection. Tom and Jerry Golden Collection Volume 1. Now, I know this came out... Let's see, this was re-released in 2020, but the original release came out in 2011. Okay, now it's starting to make more sense. So at that time, they were releasing the Looney Tunes Platinum collections and various other types of animation on Blu-ray, and they released the Tom and Jerry Golden Collection. Maybe it didn't sell well, I don't know, and they never released a volume 2 or 3 or nothing. And then last year we finally got, well, actually it wasn't last year, it was this year, I think. We got the Tom and Jerry theatrical. Yeah, we got the Tom and Jerry the Complete CinemaScope. Yeah, Tom and Jerry, the Complete CinemaScope Collection, 1954 to 1958. Now, the cartoons that were released in that set are going to be re-released in this set as well. So, if you had that one, and you buy this one, there will be some double dipping involved. I know people are not happy about that, but to be honest, yeah, I would just get it. I would just get it. Just because it shows that there's a big enough interest in classic animation on Blu-ray in order for them to put out more, and also because you get a lot more with this set. You get like I said, several more years of classic Tom and Jerry stuff. So I want to make sure to mention that, even though we don't typically talk about, I guess these are theatrical shorts, so they're movie adjacent related, if you will. So that is the Tom and Jerry the Golden Era Anthology, 1940 to 1958. Let's see, Curse of Frankenstein we talked about last time. Warner Archives putting out their release, as well as Hammer's putting out their release in the UK. A little bit of a big difference with that is that the Curse of the Frankenstein that Warner Archives putting out is a 3-disc set, whereas I think the Hammer one is a 6-disc set. And there's a lot more bells and whistles with that set, but the on-disc content is relatively similar. But I think that Hammer set's got more. I think it does. It's kind of a jumbled mess in terms of like who's putting out what. I can't make heads or tails out of it. Like I read the list of stuff and then I try to compare it, and there's just so many special features for the Curse of Frankenstein for both sets that I just completely, my mind can't handle this. But both of them have multiple aspect ratios, both of them have multiple commentaries, they have multiple other special features on there as well. So either way, whether you get the Warner Archive set or you get the Hammer set, you're getting a really comprehensive edition of The Curse of Frankenstein, the Hammer horror Peter Cushing starring Frankenstein movie, which is really great. And I also like that it's coming out October 14th, right in time for Halloween. Couldn't be more perfect. Couldn't be more perfect. Way to go, Warner Brothers and Warner Archive. Way to go to put that out. Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. So that is it for Warner Archive. Let me move now to some other things. It's let me move on now to, let's see. Let me check my notes. Let's see if Radiance. Yeah, so Radiance is right on the top of my notes. So we'll go over to Radiance. Let's see. Yeah, so because Radiance has 3 releases, they've got Splendid Outing, La Notte Bianche, and then they've got Une Femme Douce. So La Notte Bianche, I think it's Bianche. It's what's interesting, they're putting out both a French and Italian film. They so I'm a little bit flustered on the pronunciation. So let's see what they've got cooking here. So yeah, we talked about, so what, let me see. So Splendid Outing. Okay. I just want to see when these are their December titles. Yes, excuse me. So we are over here at Radiance for their December titles, and we're talking about the movie Splendid Outing. And this is a South Korean film. When did this movie come out? 1978. Okay. Following a dream about her dead twin sister, thriving corporate tycoon Gong Do-hee takes a drive to the seaside. But her splendid outing becomes a nightmarish one when she is kidnapped and forced to live with a gruff island fisherman who insists that she is his runaway wife. Featuring a timely message about political oppression that evaded the stringent censors of the day, this daring modernist work from prolific Korean cineast Kim Soo-young stands as one of the boldest works of Korean cinema's darkest era, the 1970s. And this has a 4K restoration by Radiance Films, uncompressed mono PCM audio commentary by Arrow Schutson, interview with filmmaker Lee Chang-dong, interview with assistant director Chung Chi-young, Stranded but Not Afraid, The Island Woman of Classic Korean Cinema, a visual essay by Pierce Conran, newly improved English subtitles, reversible sleeve, limited edition booklet, and then limited edition of 2,500 copies. So I did get to see this movie, and it is exactly what the synopsis suggests. This movie is about a woman who is this kind of corporate head of a company, and I guess her company is doing well, but she is just kind of not happy with her life whatsoever. And she takes a seaside trip one day, not even a trip, she kind of just, after work, randomly gets in her car and goes and drives down by the marina. And she is mistaken for a wife of a fisherman who has run away. And she's essentially kidnapped and brought back to this really rough, misogynistic, oppressive situation. And it's very uncomfortable to watch. Very uncomfortable to watch. And she is kind of going through this, and the whole movie is, I guess, kind of a metaphor for, I'm assuming, misogyny within the Korean society of the time and all this kind of stuff. That's my assumption of its social commentary while watching the movie. And yeah, it's fascinating because I don't see a lot of Korean cinema from the 1970s. For me personally, actually, I know it exists, but I just haven't, watched a lot of it myself. So it's interesting to get an insight into that society at that time. So it's a good movie. It's a good movie. Yeah, it's called Splendid Outing. Bit of an oxymoron because the movie is not a splendid outing. And yeah, so and this is region A, B, and C. So let me move on to La Notte Bianche. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably pronouncing it in French, and it's an Italian movie. I know it's an Italian movie because this is a Luchino Visconti film. I saw this years ago. This is one of his most well-known films. So, one fateful night on the streets of Livorno, world-weary Marcello Mastroianni, bumps into Natalia, Maria Schell, a visibly distressed young woman. As Marco attempts to comfort her, Natalia recounts the story of a lost love. Who she hears is back in town. In a bid to remain close to her, Mario reluctantly agrees to help Maria find him. Adapted from a excuse me, adapted from a Fyodor Dostoevsky short story, director Luchino Visconti captures the agony and the ecstasy of infatuation in this exquisite melodrama. Headlined by two stellar performances from Marcello Mastroianni and Maria Schell, La Notte Bianche won the Silver Lion at the 1957 Venice Film Festival. Now, I know Luchino Visconti. I have a Visconti section in my collection, very small, so I need to add this one. But Luchino Visconti is an all-time Italian director, like all-time great. He is very much up there with many, many well-known directors. Some of his work is like The Leopard, Boccaccio 70, Rocco and His Brothers, Senso. Senso has a Criterion release as well as a release from Radiance, which we've talked about. He's a great director. I got to get more of his stuff from my collection, so I've got to get this release. So let's see what we got here for special features. As I lose my place, as I always do. Let's see, 4K restoration by Cinecita. Uncompressed mono PCM audio. Interview with producer and programmer Adrian Wooten. Letters from Rome, Luchino Visconti archival documentary where Visconti is interviewed in Rome by Andre Labarre. Archival interview with actor Marcello Mastroianni from 1977. Archival interview with Visconti collaborators and La Notte Bianche crew from 2003. Audiobook reading of Dostoevsky's original short story, White Nights, from 2010. Fascinating. That's a heck of a special feature you do not see very often, or hardly ever. Let's see. We got reversible sleeve art. We also have limited edition booklet. And yeah, this is limited to 3,000 copies. This is a Region B locked release. That makes a lot of sense. I'm just curious who has the rights here. Let me check over at Blu-ray.com. So there is no Blu-ray release here in the US yet. So I don't know who has the rights. This feels like a Criterion release. This may even feel like a Kino release at some point. I don't know. It's giving me those types of vibes. I'm really surprised it doesn't have one yet. Let me see. I know it's got one in the UK, maybe? Let's see. It does have one in the UK. Ah, the UK release is Radiant. Yeah, that is the UK release. I'm sorry, guys. My mind is not all there. So yeah, this is the UK release. Okay. Now moving on from Luchino Visconti's La Notte Bianche. We've got Une Femme Douce, which is a French film. This is directed by, I believe, is it Bresson? I think it's Robert Bresson, who did Pickpocket, and then what's the other movie he did? A Man Escaped. L'Argent is another one of his films. See, it comes back to me slowly. Once you get the train going down the tracks, it gets moving. So Une Femme Douce, from the balcony of her Parisian apartment, a young woman jumps to her death. Her body is moved to the bed that she shared with her husband, a pawnbroker she met at a time of need. Through a series of flashbacks, Luc, who's her husband, reflects on their marriage and the events that may have led to her suicide. With his first color film, director Robert Bresson, Pickpocket, continues his career-long fascination with the work of Fyodor Dostoevsky in this striking chamber drama about a crumbling marriage, anchored by a star-making turn from the then-unknown Dominique Sanda. Une Femme Douce is a masterful and timeless meditation on male female relationships. High definition digital transfer, uncompressed mono PCM audio, new audio commentary by Michael Brook, our friend Michael Brook. Over Her Dead Body, a visual essay by Christina Alvarez Lopez and Adrian Martin. Archival interview with Robert Bresson. Archival interview with Dominique Sanda from 1987. Image gallery, and then we've got English subtitles, reversible sleeve art, limited edition booklet as well. So this is a solid group of 3 releases from Radiance. We've got a diverse group. We've got stuff from Korea from 1970s. We've got Italian film from the 1950s with Visconti. We got Robert Bresson from, I think, the when did Un Femme Douce come out? Un Femme Douce came out in 1969. So we've got an international collection of stuff from Radiance, which is what we typically get. So I like it. All coming out in December. And let's see, I'm just curious what number we are up to when it comes to Radiance releases. I mentioned Radiance earlier. So we're at number, it looks like 151 Radiance releases through this December. So that's a lot. That's 3 years worth of releases for anybody keeping count at home. So that is it from Radiance, I believe, because the next release here they have is The Night of the Juggler, which was what we talked about last month, and that was part of their December slate. Okay, just keeping track of everything. They also have Volume 5 of theirs. I believe let's see. It's their zine. Yeah, our zine dedicated to the less discussed side of serious cinema, encompassing the strange, controversial, and difficult films with new writing from around the world. Issue 5 focuses on taboo relationships and includes Alexandra Heller Nicholas, Willow Caitlin McClay, Jack Sargent, Jerome Reuter, Suzanne Boleyn, and Kat Ellinger. So those are all people who are writing articles for their new zine. And I think I've got their first zine here somewhere. Hold on, I think I got it. I think I just randomly happened to have it. I think this is their volume 1. Right here. I think this is, let me see if this how this shows up on camera. So I'm pretty sure this is the first one that they came out with way back when. Yeah, this has Introduction Dirty Art House Cinema's Counterculture by Kat Ellinger. This has all kinds of essays in it and stuff. This is interesting. So they have a zine. A zine is kind of like a shorter, it's short for magazine, obviously, but it's a shorter magazine type of thing. Smaller, typically. Our friend Ryan Verrill does a zine, movie-related zine as well, that shows up in stores, and you can buy it from him and stuff and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else I've got here when it comes to releases. So we just did Radiance. We done Warner Archive. Let's go over to Eureka. Let me track down the Eureka releases. I'm just curious where I want to go. Usually I have all these set up, but with the interview we did earlier, I didn't want to. Let's see. So Eureka, where are you? There you are. I'm on there. I'm just gonna scroll down on their Facebook page. Absolutely no help whatsoever. I think I may have passed it. Nope, I didn't pass it. November releases. Here we go. Da 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 da. Eureka unveils November 2025 Masters of Cinema lineup featuring several things. So we have La Notte. So we had La Notte Bianche, which is the Italian film, and then we have La Notte. Now, La Notte is one of Antonioni's most famous works. It's called The Night. That's what the English translation is to. Criterion has put that out on Blu-ray in the past. I have it. It's a great edition. So we've got this La Notte by Antonioni, which is fantastic. We have Fantomas Returns, the Fantomas trilogy. This is a UK Blu-ray debut. This is the La Notte is a 4K release. It says worldwide 4K Ultra HD debut. And then we've got Rio Lobo, which is Howard Hawks' last film, I think, from 1970, starring John Wayne. Yeah, this is it's the final Western from a master, the master being Howard Hawks. See, a special edition includes an O-card. I got to go to their website to get actual special features because this little thing that I'm reading here has got nothing. Tells me nothing. Then lastly here we have Shogun's Samurai, a samurai classic on Blu-ray. Okay, let's dig into some things here, shall we? Let's start with La Notte. Okay, we are on the Eureka's website. Gotta go straight to the heart of the matter. So, one of the masterworks of 1960s cinema, La Notte, marked yet another development in the continuous stylistic evolution of its director, Michelangelo Antonioni. Even as it solidified his reputation as one of the greatest artists of the 20th century, La Notte is Antonioni's Twilight of the Gods, but composed in cinematic terms. Observed from a crane shot, it's a sprawling study of Italy's upper middle class seen in close-up. It's an x-ray of a relationship on the brink of collapse. Two of the giants of film acting come together as a married couple living in crisis, Marcello Mastroianni and Jean Moreau. He is renowned author and public intellectual. She is the wife. Over the course of one day and night, into which it inevitably bleeds, the pair will come to re-examine their emotional bonds and grapple with the question of whether love and communication are even possible in a world built out of, this is a word, profligate idealists and sexual hysteria. Okay, a lot going on here. So what you have here is Marcello Mastroianni and Jean Moreau, two all-time actors. The height of their powers in the 1960s are a married couple going at it, essentially. Their marriage, their relationship is kind of crumbling apart, and you're seeing the disillusion of their relationship and the complexities within it over the course of a day and night. Think of Noah Baumbach's The Marriage Story that came out a few years ago with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Think of something like that. Think of After Midnight, the Richard Linklater film After Midnight, the examination of a relationship of people who've been together for years and the complications that go along with that. This movie is like that. La Notte is a really great movie. Like, this is the movie they show in film courses all over the world. It's that type of movie. That's what La Notte is. It's been on Criterion, like I said, for many, many years. It's very, very good. Let's see. For special features, we've got, limited edition O-card slipcase, limited edition booklet. We've got a 4K Blu-ray presentation from a 4K digital restoration. This leads me to believe that Criterion will put out their own 4K of this. If this movie already has a 4K presentation and restoration out there, chances are Criterion's going to release it soon. So if you would rather wait for the Criterion edition, then I would wait for it. Let's see. We have the original uncompressed Italian soundtrack and new audio commentary by film writer Tony Raines, new interview with academic and author Richard Dyer, and the 2020 interview with soundtrack composer Giorgio Gaslini. That's a name. So obviously the Criterion edition is from many, many years ago, so the special features are going to be different. Let's see. Let me just bring up La Notte on Criterion right now, just to get a cross section of special features. So the Criterion has a new interview with film critic Adriano Apra and film historian Carlo De Carlo. New interview with Professor Giuliano Bruno on the role of architecture in La Notte, and that's it. And there's an essay here as well in the booklet. So that's it. And this is an older Blu-ray release. In fairness, that Blu-ray release of La Notte came out, oh goodness, long before 2013, 12 years. So that Blu-ray came out 12 years ago from Criterion. I think, ironically, I think I've had it in my collection since 2013. I think I bought it brand new when it came out. It was either brand new when it came out or at the sale around when it came out. Because the way I do now is if something is new that comes out, I'll wait to get it at the subsequent Barnes & Noble 50% off sale, because you might as well, save money, if you will. You might as well do that. So let's move on from La Notte to the Phantomas trilogy. So a little bit of backstory on this. So Phantomas is this kind of legendary character in French entertainment history. He started off in books around the turn of the century, in the early part of the 20th century. There were two authors who created this character. One author passed away, and then the other author continued the work in the 1920s and created a bunch of more stories about the Phantomas character. So it's it's part of French literature, but then it got, of course, adapted into other mediums, like we see now with books and comic books and all that kind of stuff. And early on in so the first Phantomas story was published in 1911, and the first movie, as you can say, adaptation of it was in 1913 with the Phantomas serials that started to come out. Now, the Phantomas serials from the early 20th century, the silent era, they've all been released on Blu-ray through Kino, and I think Eureka's at least put out the first serial as part of their Louis Foulade box set that came out, I think, last year. Or was it this year? I think it was last year. Yeah, last year, because it was part of the award show that we did this year. So it was last year. And yeah, so you can buy that individually from Eureka, coincidentally. I don't think they've put out these subsequent serials, but the Phantomas character has been like adapted every couple of decades into new iterations, essentially. They had the early serials, like I said, from the silent era. Then I think they brought him back in like the 20s and 40s and now into the 60s. So this box set here is the Phantomas trilogy of movies from the 1960s, 1964, 1965, and 1967. And let's see, they are Phantomas, Phantomas Unleashed, and Phantomas vs. Scotland Yard. And created by crime writers Marcel Allan and Pierre Silvestri, which I just mentioned. Those are the two original author creators of this. Released between 1964 and 1967. And these movies were made by, let's see, released between 1964 and 1967. Hunebel's films revived the character with a comedic twist in the era of four-color comic books, Bondomania, and a boom in French popular cinema. So Andre Hunebel is the one who brought these to the screen. The first film of the trilogy, Phantomas, seeks revenge on Jerome Fandor, played by Jean Marais, in dual roles after the journalist publishes an unflattering article about him. So what happened? So Phantomas is the bad guy. I should probably say that. Phantomas is a bad guy who's constantly trying to do like bad guy stuff. He's like trying to like take over the world, trying to like create weaponry that'll hurt people. He's kind of a ruthless guy, and especially early on, like he was like a serial killer early iterations of his character. But in the 1960s, they made him more like a Bond villain. So this Phantomas trilogy is France's answer to the massive popular James Bond films of the time. That's the vibe that these movies give off. They're kind of like James Bond meets the Pink Panther movies because they're comedic as well. What's interesting is kind of a modern comparison would be like the Austin Powers movies, to be honest. Not quite as slapsticky, not quite as over-the-top comedic, but in that same satirical form at times are these Phantomas films from the 1960s. And so Phantomas is this evil guy who is a jack of all trades. He has the ability, or not even the ability, but he has the means to disguise himself as anyone at any time. And so he's impossible to catch. And he's, for some reason, seemingly has endless amounts of resources to do all of this. He is kind of unstoppable in that regard. And the two people who are the main protagonists that we are following, who are trying to stop him, are Jerome Fandor and the commissare, commissary Juvie. So like a main cop detective guy and this journalist guy are constantly trying to stop Phantomas. And these three movies are basically just them trying to do that. And it's various like hijinks and car chases and boat chases and helicopter chases and all those kinds of things kind of go on in these movies. And sometimes you get to see like and Phantomas also has like these exotic uh uh like hideouts and locations. Like one time he's like inside of a mountain, other time he's in this like giant castle on top of a mountain, other times he's like underneath the ocean or something. It's weird James Bond stuff like that. It reminds me a lot, like I said, it reminded me a lot of Doctor Evil in the Austin Powers movies, but he's way more sinister. He's way more sinister. For example, in uh, Phantomas versus Scotland Yard, his main thing is that he's he's putting a life tax on the super rich, and the life tax basically is an absurd amount of money. I think it's like billions of dollars or whatever. And if they don't, and if these uber rich people don't pay up, he's gonna get rid of them. You know what I mean? And he gives them like a deadline. He also has like a payment plan set up for them if he wants to. And that's the and also like that whole movie for some reason takes place almost primarily in a castle hideaway or whatnot. It's this weird type of adventure movies from the 1960s mixed with that James Bond vibe. I'm not doing it really justice. You can actually watch all of these available currently to stream on Tubi in French with with English subtitles. So you can check them out if you want to. They're definitely of their time. And you have to kind of appreciate those movies of that time. But if you like James Bond, if you like the Pink Panther movies of that time, if you like what was the Ipcris file, which I think was more serious with Michael Caine of that time, you may dig these movies. But Fantomas is an interesting kind of cultural, part of French cinematic culture. And they're actually trying to work on Fantomas films now. They want to bring him back again and do more movies with Fantomas. So he comes around every couple of decades. Uh, I was starting to read off all these synopses for these movies, but you can probably read them on IMDb. You can read them on Letterboxd. I just kind of give you an overall feel of what these movies are about. But there are a lot of special features. This is a pretty good box set from Eureka. So you get a limited edition 60-page book featuring new writing on the Phantom Rush trilogies. You got 1080p presentation of all three films from the restorations by Gaumont Film Company. So all these movies have been restored recently. Original French mono audio tracks, optional English subtitles, audio commentary by Phantomas, which is the first movie, with genre film expert and video watchdog founder Tim Lucas. New audio commentary on Phantomas Unleashed with film historian and author David Callett. New audio commentary on Phantomas vs. Scotland Yard with film historian and author David Callett as well. International Super Crooks. New interview with Leon Hunt on Phantomas and his connection to other European supervillains in the 1960s. They're probably going to mention Blofeld in there from James Bond. Juvie and Defunes. New interview with French cinema expert Mary Harrod on Louis Defunes' French comedy and Phantomas trilogy. And then Phantomas vs. Phantomas, new video essay on the evolution of Phantomas in cinema by Radio Times editor Callum Blake. So yeah, lots of cool stuff going on in that set. Let's go over to Howard Hawks' Rio Lobo. So Rio Lobo is the last film by Howard Hawks. Howard Hawks is a legendary filmmaker. Pretty sure many of you have known him. He directed the original Scarface in the 1930s. He directed Red River, The Big Sky, Rio Bravo, The Big Sleep, Monkey Business, Only Angels Have Wings is another one listed here. But yeah, all-time director, one of the greats. So John Wayne stars as Colonel Cord McNally of the Union Army, who loses a lost friend during a raid on a Union payroll train carried out by a group of Confederates under the leadership of Captain Pierre Cardona and Sergeant Tuscarora Phillips. McNally suspects that he and his men are betrayed by traitors within the Union, setting in motion a quest for revenge that will continue even after the Civil War is over. There you go. So it's kind of it's a revenge western starring John Wayne from 1970. For special features, let's see, we've got limited edition booklet, limited edition old card slipcase, original English mono audio, uh, DTS HD Master 5.1 audio as well, optional English titles. Back to the Old West, new interview with Rio Lobo with Western scholar Austin Fisher, author of Radical Frontiers in the Spaghetti Western, new interview with film historian Sheldon Hall on the career of director Howard Hawks. Now, there is a Rio Lobo Blu-ray release here. Not a very good one, I will definitely say. It came out back in 2011, put out by Paramount Pictures. Let's see, has it gotten... Yeah, and that's it. So it's a 14-year-old Blu-ray that did not look very good when it came out, and it had no special features whatsoever. So this Blu-ray release from Eureka is going to be kind of a revelation, considering the other release had no special features and did not look very good, and it came out 14 years ago. So we've got stuff, we got ways to go here. So let's see what else we have. So Shogun's Samurai, I did not get a chance to see. It's a Kinji Fukasaku film. Yeah, it's a Kinji Fukasaku film. There's been so much Kinji Fukasaku stuff being put out over the last year or two. It's kind of hard to keep up. During the Edo period, Shogun Hidedata Tokugawa is killed, poisoned by an unknown assailant. In the aftermath of his death, a vicious power struggle breaks out between his two sons. Tadanaga and Iemitsu, who is suspected of having arranged his father's murder. As the conflict between the two brothers intensifies and their father's former allies are forced to choose sides, Samurai Munenori Yagu and his own sons Jubei and Munafuyu become embroiled in the conflict until it reaches its bitter end. I'm guessing a lot of death occurs. That's my guess. I believe Sonny Chiba is in this movie. Yes, it is. Yes, he is. So Sonny Chiba, featuring Chiba's first portrayal of the legendary samurai Jubei Mitsuyoshi Yagu, a character he later would return to in Fukasaku's Samurai Reincarnation. It's a great title. Also, the cover of that Blu-ray is amazing looking. Shogun Samurai stands with the fall of Aku Castle as one of its director's finest and most accomplished samurai epics. Let's see what we have for special features. I'm all in on this, by the way. 1080p HD presentation from a 4K restoration by Toei, limited edition booklet, uncompressed original Japanese mono audio, new video essay by Japanese cinema expert Joe Hickenbottom, new interview with East Asian film expert Tony Raines. That is the Shogun's Samurai, by Kinji Fukasaku, great Japanese film director. Starring Sonny Chiba, a great Japanese actor. All right, came out in 1978. So that is it from Eureka. One more time for those of us paying attention at home. We've got The Phantomas Returns, which is the Phantomas trilogy. We have Rio Lobo, Howard Hawks' last movie. We have Shogun Samurai, and we have La Notte getting a 4K UHD release, all from Eureka. And all of these are coming. When are these bad boys coming out? Just says, November. These are all coming out in November. All right. Let's go over now to Imprint. Imprint got a lot of things going on. So bear with me here. I don't want to make the show too long. We had a great interview early on with our friend John Matthews over at New Wave Video that took up about the first hour of the show. So I want to make sure to kind of keep the show moving right along. Let's see. So we've got a bunch of stuff from Imprint coming. Oh boy, coming soon. So we've got 4 4K editions, and these are pretty good. So we've got 4K editions, the big collector's hardbox edition 4Ks from Imprint of Battle of Britain from 1969, G.I. Jane, the Ridley Scott film from 1997, The Last Seduction, the neo-noir from the 90s from 1994. And then we've got a movie that we just talked about, Jade, the William Friedkin film from 1995, also an erotic thriller neo-noir from the 90s. And so let's start off with these, because they also do have 2 more Imprint editions and Imprint Asia editions we'll get to after this. But first up here, we've got their November bundle, which is all this good stuff. Let's start with Jade. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because we just talked about it, because Vinegar Syndrome has their own 4K UHD release of this. What I do want to say is this edition comes with all of the special features from that edition, plus a couple of new ones that are not on that other edition. So let me see if I can pull up. They tell me here. So it's a 1, 2, 3 disc edition. Excuse me. So we've got disc 1 of Jade is audio commentary by film historian Jennifer Mormon. 2 new audio commentaries. One is by film critic William Bibiani, editor Augie Hess, and assistant editor Darren Navarro. Another audio commentary by Nina K. Martin, associate professor of film studies and author of Sexy Thriller, Undressing the Erotic Thriller, and Will Dotson of Someone's Favorite Productions. Someone's Favorite Productions, that is our friend Ryan Verrill's company that does special features. So he's part of the producing crew of this release. So that's pretty awesome. Congratulations to him. This also comes with a Dolby Vision presentation on 4K UHD of both the theatrical and director's cuts of the movie, which is restored from the original 35mm camera negative. Let's see. And then disc 2 is a 1080p high definition release on Blu-ray of the theatrical and director's cuts. It's got all of those commentaries I just mentioned, plus it's got new Friedkin's Enigma video essay by filmmaker Chris O'Neill, new interview with assistant editor Darren Navarro, and then new The Subversive Heart of William Friedkin's Jade video essay by film critic Michelle Kisner, my Facebook friend. Esterhaus, Friedkin and Jade, an interview with screenwriter Joe Esterhaus. Historical Blindness, William Friedkin at Paramount. Archival interviews with Linda Fiorentino, Chaz Palminteri, David Caruso, Michael Bean, Ken King, and Angie Everhart. So, Esterhaus, Friedkin and Jade, Historical Blindness, and the archival interviews. I think those are all on the those are all on the Vinegar Syndrome release. I'll just take a quick look over. I looked at it earlier, like last week, but I just like to double check and triple check these things, just because I don't like to give out wrong information. I hate being wrong in life. That's the one big thing they don't tell you about when you're a studious academic student, and you get good grades. It creates a complex in you where if you're wrong, you really beat yourself up in life. But they don't tell you that those are the side effects. Okay. So, the commentary with Jennifer Mormon, Esterhaus, Friedkin, and Jade, Hysterical Blindness, those are all on the Vinegar Syndrome release. What I don't see that's on this imprint release of Jade is there's an interview with William Friedkin done by Charlie Rose. That I don't think is on the Jade release. At least I'm not seeing it yet. Okay. So there may be more special features coming. I'm not quite sure. But there is a third disc here, which is a Blu-ray documentary, The Kid Stays in the Picture from 2002. What this is a well-known documentary. This is a documentary about, I think it's about Robert Evans. If I remember correctly, it is. And it's only been available, I think, on DVD. Oh, no, it's been available on Blu-ray. My fault. It came out in 2000. Well, the documentary came out in 2002, but the Blu-ray for it came out in 2021, put out by Kino. Okay, I do remember seeing this on their website. That makes more sense. I remember seeing the DVD in store a lot, back when I was hunting for DVDs in the used movie stores and stuff, this would always pop up. The kid stays in the picture. And this is a documentary about Robert Evans' rise from second string actor to head of one of Hollywood's biggest movie studios to legendary producer, is told from the viewpoint of Evans himself. Uh, I believe Robert Evans was the head of Paramount back in the day. I think the 1970s, if I do recall my documentaries correctly. And then he was a Hollywood producer, throughout the rest of his career. Fascinating character, Robert Evans was. I had the deepest and fakest tan of any person I've ever seen. But a heck of a producer from back in the day. So check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, this release of Jade is pretty massive. Now, if you already have the release of Jade from Vinegar Syndrome and you don't want to double dip, or you're trying to decide between the two, I do want to say that this one does have more special features, and you get that third disc that has that Robert Evans documentary, which is kind of cool to have. But you can always buy that Robert Evans documentary by itself. But this does have more special features. Just want to make sure everything is fair. Now, going on from Jade, we have The Last Seduction. This is a big release. And you want to know why this is a big release? Because The Last Seduction has a Blu-ray release here, but it is not a very good Blu-ray release. If I remember correctly, the picture quality of it is not very good. And there's only one special feature on it. I think that was it. Yeah, so this has a Scorpion releasing Blu-ray here in the US from back in 2018. This is another movie that I saw so many times on DVD in the used movie store. I believe this Blu-ray also from Scorpion Releasing is out of print. So whether that means somebody else picked it up here or not, I'm not sure. But this release, I do recall not looking very good picture quality wise, and it's got a commentary with director John Dahl, The Art of the Seduction, which is the 30-minute special feature. Then it's got a behind the scenes look. It's got deleted scenes with optional audio commentary, then alternate ending with an optional commentary as well, both by the director John Dahl. So a decent extras package. Okay, I thought it only had one extra. It does not. It's got other stuff here too. Now this release of The Last Seduction from Imprint. It says if 4K UHD for the first time worldwide, fully restored by Imprint films from the original 35mm camera negative. And it has, I believe, all of those special features I just mentioned, plus a bunch of other ones. Yeah, it's got The Art of the Seduction, the archival featurette. Let's see, I'm losing my place here. Where are you? Ah, there you are. Yep, The Art of the Seduction featurette. Does it have the behind the scenes? Hold on, let me move my stuff around so everything's easier accessible here for me on my computer screen. Yeah, behind the scenes footage, deleted scenes with optional audio commentary, alternate ending with optional audio commentary. It's got all of that on here. So you get all of that from that US Blu-ray release from years ago. I will say this, the deleted scenes with optional audio commentary runs an hour long. That's a lot of deleted scenes. But this also comes with an audio commentary from director John Dahl. New small town noir interview with director John Dahl. Got an interview with actor Peter Berg. Got an interview with actor Bill Pullman. Interview with editor Eric L. Beeson. And then Hard Light and Soft Shadow interview with cinematographer Jeffrey Jur. And then it says more new special features coming soon, I guess. And that's only disc 1 and disc 2. So disc 1, theatrical cut of the movie. Disc 2 is the Blu-ray plus the special features. Disc 3 is a new noir edition. Hello. New Dolby Vision presentation of a specially created noir edition on 4K UHD in black and white, restored from the original 35mm negative by Imprint Films, and audio commentary with John Dahl. And then there's a fourth disc. Fourth disc is a Blu-ray special features 128-minute extended version of the movie in standard definition, so it's not in high definition. And then an audio commentary on the extended version by director John Dahl. And there's an 80-page booklet Okay, someone is. I'm I'm worn out just thinking about this set. So this is the definitive edition of The Last Seduction. 4 discs plus an 80-page book, new special features. What was that? Theatrical cut of the movie, noir cut of the movie, and then an extended cut of the movie as well. So 3 cuts of the movie. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Yeah, The Last Seduction is a really good 90s like erotic thriller noir film. This and Jade make a good double feature together. I haven't seen The Last Seduction in several years. If you want to get into like 90s erotic thriller neo noirs, this is a good one. It's a really good one. Let's see. Linda Fiorentino stars as iconic femme fatale Bridget Gregory alongside Peter Berg and Bill Pullman in a dark, twisted tale from director John Dahl. Passion, greed, and revenge forge a desperate triangle between Bridget Gregory, who wants it all, her husband Clay, a doctor forced to deal drugs to pay off their debt, to a violent and impassioned loan shark, Mike, drawn into a passionate affair with Bridget. So we've got a love affair, love triangle. There's drug dealing involved. There's a femme fatale involved. It's got everything. It's got everything. It's like I said, it's been a few years since I've seen it, but this is a massive edition. This is a massive edition of The Last Seduction. Wow, I'm worn out thinking about it. Now we've got the Ridley Scott movie G.I. Jane from 1997. Now, G.I. Jane got a Blu-ray release a long time ago, and it's been the same Blu-ray release that's been kicking around for many, many years. And it's from 2007, back when the format was relatively brand new, and it has no special features whatsoever. It was put out by Disney/Buena Vista. Excuse me. And this edition here is much different and loaded with special features. So, for those of you who've never seen G.I. Jane, with a powerhouse lead performance from Demi Moore, an intense turn from Viggo Mortensen as her Navy SEAL instructor, and Anne Bancroft as a sharp, shrewd senator, this gripping film tackles the controversial gender politics within the military system through a big-budget Hollywood lens. Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill enters the elite but punishing Navy SEALs force, though with a 60% dropout rate, no one actually expects her to succeed. So what happens is Demi Moore's character is, I think she's part of the Navy as, I think she does like statistical work or something like that. And there's the senator portrayed by Anne Bancroft who wants more women in the military, in the Navy SEALs program or something like that. And she strikes up a deal with, I think, the head of that something. There's a lot of backdoor politics going on. She strikes up a deal, and part of the deal is that the military will look into candidates to induct into the Navy SEALs program, and one of them that happens to be is portrayed by Demi Moore, and the whole movie is about her going through this harsh Navy SEAL program, physical and mentally harsh Navy SEAL program. Viggo Mortensen plays like the drill instructor and instructing her as well as all the other recruits and stuff like that, and it's just about her overcoming those obstacles, gender politics and all that stuff. And this movie's well known. It's been around for, almost 30 years, like 28 years. It's the 28th year anniversary of G.I. Jane. And yeah, so it's well known. It's one of Ridley Scott's 90s films. And it's getting a pretty deluxe release. Disc 1, 4K UHD, Dolby Vision presentation on 4K UHD, restored from the 35mm negative by Imprint Films, audio commentary by director Ridley Scott from 1997, new 4K scan of a theatrical trailer. Let's see, Disc 2 is where we got some goods. Disc 2 is 1080p presentation of the movie, the audio commentary by Ridley Scott, new interview with director Ridley Scott, new interview with writer David Toy, new interview with actor Jason Baig, a new interview with production designer Arthur Max, a new interview with editor Pietro Scalia, And then archival interviews with director Ridley Scott, actors Demi Moore, Viggo Mortensen, and Jason Baig. Making of G.I. Jane featurette from 1997. I'm assuming that's a pretty short featurette there. Interview with cast and crew, B-roll stuff, new 4K scan of the theatrical trailer, and that is about it. Oh, there's also a 60-page hardback booklet as well. Right on. That is Ridley Scott's G.I. Jane. Battle of Britain. Now, this is a massive, epic war film from 1969. So, Battle of Britain stars many, many people. So, if I do recall, so based on the real life events from July to October 1940, and the book The Narrow Margin by Derek Wood and Derek Dempster, an Academy Award winning cinematographer, Freddie Young tackled the daring undertaking of capturing these daring recreations. An all-star cast leads us into battle, including Laurence Olivier, Michael Caine, Christopher Plummer, Robert Shaw, Harry Andrews, Kenneth Moore, Trevor Howard, Patrick Wymark, young Ian McShane is in this movie, Michael Redgrave, so many people are in this movie. A brand new 4K restoration of the movie, and it's a war film depicting Great Britain trying to survive and aerial battles between July and October of 1940, pretty much that time frame. It's 1940 into 1941 or so, that late year time frame. If you've seen Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, that same time frame. Okay, and we have a disc 1 is a 4K UHD disc for Dolby Vision presentation on 4K UHD, restored at fidelity and motion from the original 35mm negative by Imprint Films. Audio commentary by director Guy Hamilton. Production designer Bernard Williams. Documentary director Paul Annett. And assistant director Garth Thomas. Audio commentary by film historian Steve Mitchell and Stephen J. Rubin. Original theatrical score by Rod Goodwin with a single cue from Sir William Walton. Alternate score by Sir William Walton. Score by Sir William Walton. There's a lot of scores here. More special features to come, I guess. The Battle for the Battle of Britain, 1969 documentary. Authenticity in the Air featurette. A Film for the Few featurette. Recollections of an RAF squadron leader featurette. Images from the Sky theatrical trailer, and then there's a second disc 2, which is a Blu-ray disc of the movie. Audio commentary with director Guy Hamilton. Audio commentary, the same audio commentary as we just talked about, and looks like the same exact special features. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so disc 1 and disc 2 are the same content, except one's a 4K disc, one's a Blu-ray disc. And then you've got a third disc, which is a Blu-ray bonus features disc, has a new documentary by Simon Lewis, new interview with film historian Sheldon Hall, and then featured documentary including interviews with original production crew, Why We Fight the Battle of Britain, 1943 propaganda film. Then there's a 100-page hardback booklet featuring an article by Simon Lewis and a bunch of articles from other people. Now, Battle of Britain did get a Blu-ray release here a long time ago. This thing pops up on so many bargain bins you would not believe. Let's see, Battle of Britain. I think it was put out by. Let's see, in 2008, it was put out by Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MGM. So this has been 2008. That's a long time ago. Absolutely no special features whatsoever. And keep in mind, it came out in 2008. So this movie has needed this type of deluxe restoration, deluxe treatment for many, many years. A lot of the old MGM Blu-ray releases from the late 2000s, early 2010s need that treatment. And many of them have gotten them so far. A lot of the old MGM titles, I think, need that treatment as well. I mean, the MGM catalog is in various places. Warner Brothers has a lot of their old catalog, basically circa 1980s, if you will. I know Amazon has a lot of their modern stuff. So it's really kind of all over the place, if you will. So it's nice to see anytime an MGM title pops up. Some of the Warner Archive stuff we talked about earlier were MGM releases. I think that musical I talked about from 1952, um, which is what Lovely to Look At, uh, was an MGM film. So that's nice. So that is Battle of Britain. Battle of Britain's a good movie. If you like those kind of old school World War II epic war films that were done, post World War II that were done in the 60s and 70s and whatnot, you'll dig that. So we've got 2 releases from Imprint Asia. I'll just go over these quickly. I didn't get a chance to watch any of these movies. I think I'm just going to list off the movies that are in here because they're 2 box sets. Well, one is a double feature and one is a 3-movie box set. And yeah, so we have Shaw Brothers Horror Collection Volume 2, which is Imprint Asia 31 through 33. And then we have Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan and Lust for Love of a Chinese Courtesan. And that is Imprint Asia 34 and 35. So because I didn't get to watch these, I think in the interest of time, I'll just list off the movies and we'll move on from there. Just because my voice is starting to go, actually. So, volume. Here we go. Shaw Brothers Horror Collection Volume 2, 1960 through 1974. We have the movie The Enchanting Shadow from 1960, The Bride from Hell 1971, and The Ghost Lovers from 1974. And let's see, just quickly, I know I said I wasn't going to take too much time. Looks like each movie has an audio commentary at least. Yeah, it looks like each movie at least has an audio commentary. Let's move on to the double feature here, which has Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan from 1972, Lust for Love of a Chinese Courtesan from 1984. Jumping 12 years in time for this double feature. And it also looks like each movie has an audio commentary and some ancillary featurettes. This is a hardbox collection as well, limited to 1,500 copies. And yeah, let's move on from there because I didn't get to really get into that. Let's see. Okay, I'm just looking at my notes now to see where I want to move on to next. So we still have to talk about Kino. We still have to talk about a couple of Studio Canal releases. Let's see. And then Shout has a few things going for them. I do want to talk about the Shout stuff. Let me go over to their website to see if they're there. Sometimes their stuff's there, sometimes it's not there. We shall see. We shall see. Let's see. Okay, so we do have a few. Yeah, we do. So I'll just get again some stuff here, just some upgrades that Shout's putting out. Shout is putting out some upgrades of movies you probably already know of and have already seen. Hold on, I just lost my. The movie Snowden, the Oliver Stone film, the one starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt from several years ago. They are putting out a 4K UHD of that, and it's getting quite some new special features. So, Disc 1 is a 4K restoration from the original elements supervised and approved by director Oliver Stone. It's a new. I'm surprised. I guess that makes sense. If you're going to put out a 4K, you might as well give it a 4K restoration. And then Disc 2 is a 4K restoration of the movie as well. But you also have audio commentary with director Oliver Stone on both discs. And then we've got some special features. New interview with Oliver Stone, new interview with producer Moritz Bormann, new interview with producer Eric Kopoloff, new interview with cinematographer Anthony Dodd Mantle. He's a good one. New interview with co-editor Alex Marquez, and Finding the Truth featurette, and then Snowden Q&A, an interview with Edward Snowden. With the director Oliver Stone, actors Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Shailene Woodley. And this movie came out in 2016. I remember when it came out. So obviously that was right before 4K was a thing, pretty much. So we've got Snowden. They're putting out their own edition of the Beastmaster. And I know Vinegar Syndrome put out a VSU release of the Beastmaster. That was their first VSU release, I think. because I have it. I have it. I think it's carrying over all of the special features. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. Um, they're also putting out a 4K UHD release of Spotlight, which we just talked about here on Movies Down Memory Lane a couple of months ago. We talked about the movie Spotlight. So we talked all about that movie and our memories of it, as well as what we thought of it and whatnot. And it looks like it's literally just the movie on 4K. 4K disc of the movie, and then there's a Blu-ray disc of the movie. And it has Uncovering the Truth, a Spotlight Team Roundtable, and then Spotlight, a Look Inside, and then The State of Journalism. I think those were all on the original Spotlight Blu-ray. I don't think there's anything else new on there. I don't think there's a. Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Nope. Uncovering the Truth, Spotlight Team Roundtable, Spotlight, a Look Inside, State of Journalism. Those are all special features on the Spotlight Blu-ray that came out, 10 years ago? Yeah, that came out about 10 years ago. Well, it came out in 2016, so 9 years ago. Either way, it's the same thing, just you get an upgraded version of the movie. And they are finally starting to talk about putting out the movies they got over from Hong Kong. They're Hong Kong. Remember, we made a big deal about them acquiring all of the movies from Hong Kong, the 80s action movies, and all of that stuff. And they're starting to announce and take pre-orders for a lot of those. Big one here is a Better Tomorrow trilogy. Okay. And this is a 7-disc box set. A lot of people do not like the cover art for these box sets, for these sets, but that's neither here nor there. But this is coming out November 18th, and you get a Better Tomorrow, a Better Tomorrow 2, and a Better Tomorrow 3. And so you get, let's see, disc 1 is a 4K scan from the original camera negative of A Better Tomorrow. You get audio commentary with James Mudge, Hong Kong film critic at Eastern Kicks. I can't read all of this. I'm going to lose my voice. Disc 2 is A Better Tomorrow on Blu-ray, and this is where you get a host of special features. Go over to the shoutfactory.com website and read all this, because there's a lot here to read. Needless to say, they did go all out in terms of giving us a lot of special features. And yeah, this is a 7-disc set, so you get each movie comes on 4K, each movie comes on Blu-ray for A Better Tomorrow, A Better Tomorrow 2, and A Better Tomorrow 3. I've only ever seen A Better Tomorrow. I think I've also seen A Better Tomorrow 2. I think I have. But this was years ago, well over a decade ago I saw these. So I don't have a big recollection of them, other than the first movie I know is awesome. First movie is great. Starring Chow Yun-fat. And yeah, this so far is looking like a really nice release, with the exception of the cover art being what it is. People are not big fans of it. I get it. I understand that. So we've got that for A Better Tomorrow, and then we also have Hard Boiled. Now, Hard Boiled is the one that I've been dying for years. So let's quickly check out Hard Boiled. The cover for Hard Boiled is it's not great. It's not great. So this is a 3-disc set. You get the movie on 4K. You get the movie on Blu-ray. You get there's 3 audio commentaries plus a host of other special features. Mostly all interviews on the 3rd disc. The 3rd disc is where you get all the special features in this set. And yeah, I think Hard Boiled is, quite honestly, maybe the greatest action movie ever made. That may be a hot take, but it's either the greatest action movie ever made, in my opinion, or one of the greatest action movies ever made, in my opinion. Either way, it's one of my all-time favorites. It's really, really good. Like, it's quite astounding. You can pre-order all of these at shoutfactory.com, or probably on certain US retailer sites. We'll probably be getting their pre-orders and get their orders and get their stock in at some point. But these are both coming out in February. We make sure that Hard Boiled is February. Why does it not tell me? Let's see. Ba-ba-ba-bum. It doesn't. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 11/4. So, um, or 4/11 rather. No, what am I thinking? No, 11/4. Hold on, let me actually look. Either way, yeah. So far, yeah, it's November 4th. Yeah, November 4th is Hard Boiled, and then a better Tomorrow is coming out that month as well. And I think the Jet Li box set is already been released. Let me check. The Jet Li collection was released July 29th. I didn't see a lot of people talking about it. Interesting. So the Jet Li box set, which is their numbers 1 through 5 in their Hong Kong Cinema Classics, and see if Hard Boiled is number. What does it say? Oh wow, number 17. Okay, I'm way off. Okay. All right. Either way, these are the ones that you want. That you may be interested in. So, A Better Tomorrow box set, trilogy box set, Hard Boiled, uh, deluxe edition, if you will, both come from Shout Factory in November. Loads of special features, 4K of the movies, Blu-rays of the movies. What I am waiting for, and I probably shouldn't wait because we don't really know what the supply is going to be for this. These could definitely sell out quick. I know that Arrow is going to be putting out their own versions of these movies, of Hard Boiled, of A Better Tomorrow, because they have the UK rights to this catalog that Shout has the rights to as well. Now, I don't know when those releases are going to happen. My guess is not this year because they've already announced their releases for the rest of this calendar year. So my guess is it would be next year to get a lot of these Hong Kong movies from Arrow. The reason why I'm waiting is because I don't know what they're going to have for special features. If they're just going to carry over the stuff from Shout Factory, or they're going to do their own special features, or it's going to be a combination of both. Typically, in the past, when Arrow's put out a title that Shout Factory has put out, they make their own special features. In addition to some of these special features from the Shout Factory release. I saw that with Carrie. I saw that with some of the other releases. My mind is completely gone. Candyman. So we really don't know yet how the Arrow releases are going to look for these Hong Kong films. So I'm kind of being a little bit patient. It may come back to bite me because I feel like Hard Boiled is going to sell out. I really do. With questionable artwork or not, I feel like it's going to sell out. So let me go over now to Kino and see what they've got there. There's not much that Kino's got going over the last 2 weeks. They've been very quiet over the last month or so, for the most part. Not much to talk about. So let me go down to so on Peter Sellers' 100th birthday, they teased us that they're going to be putting out the Pink Panther films on 4K. Tomorrow, I'll read this right here from September 7th. Tomorrow is Peter Sellers' centennial. To celebrate this wonderful event, KLSC, Kino Lorber Studio Classics, is proud to announce the 4K UHD restorations of 5 Pink Panther classics directed by the great Blake Edwards and featuring the iconic scores by Henry Mancini. Coming soon on 4K UHD and Blu-ray. Brand new HDR DV masters from 4K scans of the 35mm original camera negatives. We have the Pink Panther, A Shot in the Dark, Return of the Pink Panther Strikes Again, and then Revenge of the Pink Panther. What this doesn't have is the 6th movie, I put movie in quotes, The Trail of the Pink Panther, which is basically made up of clips of the previous Pink Panther movies and some deleted scenes, and it came out like a couple of years after the death of Peter Sellers. I know that Peter Sellers' family was not too happy about it. I think they sued the studio because of it. And the movie, it's not even a movie. It's just a tribute to the Inspector Clouseau character as well as Peter Sellers. That's basically what it is. It's just a clips of previous stuff. That's what it is, because he was no longer around. And it's so I can understand why Trail of the Pink Panther is not included on here. Speaking of Shout Factory, which we just talked about a little bit, they put out a Pink Panther collection on Blu-ray several years ago. 5 years ago, I did a whole review here on Chasing Labels YouTube channel of that Blu-ray release. It's on the channel of the Pink Panther collection from Shout Factory. So if you want to check that out, go and give that a watch as well. Coincidentally, I still have the Pink Panther stuffed animal looking right at me every single time I do the Chasing Label show. He's been sitting there for 5 years, so he's there. And yeah, so that's coming, and I'm going to rebuy this. I love the Pink Panther movies. I love the character of the Pink Panther. I think I've got almost all of the volumes of the Pink Panther animated series that Kino put out several years ago. That's now out of print. I think I'm missing the last volume. I need to get it, track it down somehow, and then I'll have the complete series of that. And yeah, I've been a big fan of the Pink Panther since I was a kid. I grew up watching the MGM cartoons. I watched the Peter Sellers movies as a kid on VHS. I used to rent them from Blockbuster or my local video store. I used to rent them and watch them at home. I would watch them when they were on TV. That was my childhood, pretty much. So it's always been near and dear to my heart. So I'll end up rebuying them whenever they do come out. My guess would be next year. That's my guess. My guess is those will be out next year. But what's also coming out is they're putting out a Death Wish collection. So they're putting out a Death Wish collection of Death Wish 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if for those of you keeping track at home, all of these movies have already been released, and we're essentially just putting them in a box set now. Now, I say released because Death Wish, let's see. So Death Wish got a 4K UHD release from Kino back in 2023. And Death Wish 2 got a 4K release back in 2022 from Vinegar Syndrome, I believe. But that has the licensing on that, I believe, has recently lapsed, and Kino scooped up the licensing rights, I believe, to Death Wish 2. Perhaps. Hold on. Let me actually go to Vinegar Syndrome's website and actually take a look if it's still available on there. Because it could have been just that Vinegar Syndrome had the licensing rights to... Oh no, the Death Wish 2 4K is now out of print from them. So... Or sold out, rather. Either way, Kino is putting out Death Wish 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but they've already put out a 4K release of Death Wish 1. My guess is they're not going to be putting out a 4K release of the other films because they've put out Death Wish 3, 4, and 5 on Blu-ray already. So they're just repackaging those into this set. They're just literally taking that Blu-ray release and putting it in a box, which is fine. That's completely fine. And to be honest, Death Wish 4 and 5 are probably worth just buying on Blu-ray. They're not great. Death Wish 3 we talked about here when it was announced a few months ago. It's actually coming out on Blu-ray in October. Actually, no, hold on. So Death Wish 3 is getting a 4K release as well. Okay, no. So they put out Death Wish and they put out Death Wish 3 on 4K. And now they're going to be putting out Death Wish 2, 4, and 5 out on Blu-ray. Well, 4 and 5 has already been on Blu-ray from them, and now they're going to be putting out Death Wish 2 for the first time by themselves. Kino is. Very confusing. My mind is... I'm very tired. My mind is kind of killing me. So, yeah, we will see what this box set looks like. I can tell you there are special features for each movie. Yeah, so each movie is getting, let's see, Death Wish 2 is getting 2 commentaries, Death Wish 3, 2 commentaries, Death Wish 1 has commentary as well as an interview. Now, Death Wish 4 has a commentary, Death Wish 5 has a commentary, and that's it. I can understand Death Wish 4 and 5 not being as beloved as the other 3. Also, I'm pretty sure Death Wish 4 and 5, yeah, Death Wish 4 was towards the relative tail end of canon films. Not tail end, but they would go kind of bankrupt several years later. And then Death Wish 5 was made from a completely different company that was kind of born in the death of canon films in the 90s. Okay. They're also putting out a collection of Abbott and Costello. They're putting Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. Now, these have all been released on Blu-ray before, or at least they were they were released special features on the Universal Monsters releases put out by Universal. The Blu-rays, I mean, and probably the 4Ks too, now that I think about it. I think I talked about this forever ago when they announced this. This is not the first time they've announced these, but I have all of these because I have the complete. Let me get it actually. Yeah. So, I've got this box set here. Now, I know that Universal loves to re-release their Universal Monsters, and I bought them several times. So I have this collection here. This is all of them on Blu-ray, and it also has all of their sequels too on Blu-ray. And of course, in here you get the Abbott and Costello films. You get, let's see which ones I've got here. So, let's see. Yeah, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. Let's see. I think the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is the only one that's not here. Yeah. Yep. Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is the only one that's not in these releases. Let me put that aside. Can't remember. I wanted to do a review of this years ago to the point where I watched like every single one of these movies, and I don't think I ever did. Coincidentally, they're now talking about re-releasing these sets, these complete Legacy Collection Blu-ray sets in 4K. That would be really, really nice. I'm curious. I know they've released some of these already in 4K, like Dracula and Frankenstein and such. And I'm curious if they would go back and do all of these in 4K. I mean, they'd be pretty expensive. But anywho, I've been neglecting the comments here. Acres of Movies says hello and thanks. Acres of Movies says, do you like Night of the Creeps? Yes, I do. I actually watched it for the first time, I think over the last year or so, and I really, really liked it because I think it was getting some type of release, and I had to watch it for Chasing Labels. Let's see, do you like Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats? I love Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats. I have distinct memories of being a kid and watching Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, and I've always wanted to buy the DVD set of Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, to the point where I've almost bought it so many times. Yeah, I loved Heathcliff growing up. Thing is, I was introduced to Heathcliff before I was introduced to Garfield, so I always had that. I always had that kind of fondness in me. You know what I mean? I was because it was my first, I guess, cartoon cat was Heathcliff. Acres of Movies says I have the DVD set. Nice. I've always seen it. I used to see it when I was go out DVD shopping all of the time in certain used movie stores and certain movie stores and whatnot. I distinctly remember seeing it all the time, and it was always like full price, so I never bought it. And then nowadays, like those old cartoon sets that came out in the 2000s for a lot of the old shows are now out of print and kind of tough to find sometimes. I've got a whole classic animation collection that I've been wanting to go back to and plug some holes in. I've wanted to finish some series. I've wanted to get some series and things like that. I've been doing that kind of behind the scenes lately with a lot of TV stuff. Is I'm going back and getting certain series. Uh, like not only animation but live action as well. Just to complete. Just to have them complete. So I don't keep thinking about them that I don't have them. So I've been going back and doing that behind the scenes, and sometimes you can find the season sets now for certain TV shows on Blu-ray way cheaper than they used to be, like way cheaper than they used to be. But animation, I wanted to go back and do. Even in my head right now, there's several series I've been thinking of doing. Actually, I think I've talked about this before. Um, so it reminds me that I need to continue to do it, is I've been trying to piece together the Hanna-Barbera sets, or the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I've talked about it here on Chasing Label before. One of my longest collecting goals is to get like every Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Jetsons, Flintstones, Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo, um, Captain Caveman, Dino Mutt, all of that stuff. And most of it's been put out on DVD. But I'm kind of like waiting to see what we're going to be getting with Blu-rays, because Warner Archive has been putting out a lot of animation on Blu-ray now. They're going back and re-releasing a lot on animation Blu-ray, specifically the old Scooby-Doo movies they've been releasing out on Blu-ray recently. They've been going back to releasing a lot of the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, like Huckleberry Hound. They just put out a complete series set of Huckleberry Hound. So I've been like waiting to see if we're going to get some of those. It is so. I'm hesitant to go pick up the old DVDs, to pay to pick up the old DVDs. If we're just going to get the Blu-rays, I mean, I might as well wait for those. You know what I'm saying? Um, Acres of Movie says they are cardboard. I want to find them. I like the Cadillac Cats, Mongo, Wordsworth, etc. Yeah. Like I was saying, Cadillac Cats, Garfield and Friends. I wanted to pick up those volume sets of Garfield and Friends. That's all stuff I loved when I was growing up. There's oh man, even like old Disney stuff I've been wanting to get for years. DuckTales, Tailspin, um, Rescue Rangers, stuff like that. Granted, all of that stuff is streaming on Disney Plus now. You can go back and watch it. Gargoyles is something big from my childhood. I was growing up in the '90s. You got a lot of that stuff. Um, you know, Granted, a lot, like I said, a lot of that's streaming, but I still want that in my collection just to have it as you know permanently, well, relatively permanently, because we know now that DVDs do fade over time. They do fade over time. Back speaking of DVDs, let me see if there's anything else. There's nothing else from Kino, other than the Death Wish collection, which I just talked about, the Pink Panther stuff that's coming, that they've teased that's coming out. Now we have some relatively individual things. So Studio Canal is putting out Murder in the First, they're putting out Port of Shadows, and they're putting out an Agatha Christie collection. So let me go quickly over to Blu-ray.com and see if I can talk about the Agatha Christie collection, because these would be some titles that people may be interested in. Yeah, and it's coming out in 4K and coming out on Blu-ray as well. So the Agatha Christie collection is going to have, I think, 4 films. Yeah, it's going to have Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and Evil Under the Sun, and The Mirror Cracked. So yeah, Murder on the Orient Express we know of. That's the Sidney Lumet film with Albert Finney as Hercule Poirot, plus Ingrid Bergman, and I think so many people in that movie. It's a star-studded cast. I think Anthony Perkins is in there as well. And then you've got Death on the Nile, which is Peter Ustinov is Hercule Poirot, and he's also Hercule Poirot in Evil Under the Sun as well. And then you got Evil Under the Sun has like, jeez, The Evil Under the Sun has like Diana Rigg is in it, and Elizabeth. No, she's in. Hold on. No, Elizabeth Taylor's in The Mirror Cracked. Yeah, she's in The Mirror Cracked, which is a Miss Marple mystery. Angela Lansbury plays Miss Marple. It's very interesting how she would then go on years later to be in Murder, She Wrote, which actually just got a complete series Blu-ray set. So Murder, She Wrote, you can buy on DVD and Blu-ray now. You know me, I love seeing old TV shows get Blu-ray releases. Nothing warms my heart more than that, than seeing that. So we've got that's out now. I don't think I've seen Aces of Acres of Movies. Sorry, have you seen Mike's Murder? I have not seen that. I've not seen that Acres of Movies. Let's see. But The Mirror Cracked like I said, stars let's see. Yeah, Elizabeth Taylor, Kim Novak, Rock Hudson, Tony Curtis, Geraldine Chaplin, Jacqueline Bisset. Well, these are just various other people, but yeah. So Elizabeth Taylor in The Mirror Cracked is plays an actress. She's kind of playing almost herself in a fictional form, and yeah, it's a fascinating movie. Rock Hudson is her husband in that film, and she's hosting a party at her like big mansion estate, and this young fan of hers like is there and just completely starstruck by her, and she ends up dying. And the rest of the movie is figuring out who did the murder, and it's an interesting mystery. Rock Hudson's great in the movie. I love Rock Hudson. I love Elizabeth Taylor. They're two of my all-time favorites. Coincidentally, I've been trying to get one of my goals is to get all the Rock Hudson movies, all the Elizabeth Taylor movies. I've got to work on that. Yeah, Kim Novak's in the film too. Kim Novak plays like her arch enemy, like former best friend, arch enemy now. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. What's interesting is that Angela Lansbury, Miss Marple, doesn't really play a big role in the movie. It's more about Elizabeth Taylor's character and Rock Hudson's character and their relationship. So that kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. But it's called The Mirror Cracked. It's available to stream actually on Tubi for free if you're interested in a little, old school Miss Marple mystery, if you will. You get to see Angela Lansbury kind of in a pre-Murder, She Wrote mystery movie, if you will. Yeah, it's good. So that is, I don't have anything. Yeah, this is coming out November 24th. It's the Agatha Christie collection from Studio Canal. Let's see. Murder in the First is an interesting movie because it's getting a 4K UHD release from Studio Canal, and it is a movie directed by Mark Rocco. And I think this is like the only movie this guy ever directed. This movie stars Christian Slater, Kevin Bacon, Gary Oldman, William H. Macy is in the movie as well. An eager and idealistic young attorney defends an Alcatraz prisoner accused of murdering a fellow inmate. The extenuating circumstances, his client had just spent over 3 years in solitary confinement. So this movie is based on a true story in the sense that it's about a real life prisoner who did go on trial for murdering a fellow prison inmate, if you will. But the movie takes a rather fictional turn with it towards the end, kind of fabricating a lot of things to kind of prove an overall point, overall theme of the abuse within the prison industrial complex, the abuse that prisoners face psychologically, physically, and the inhumanity of it all of that kind of stuff. But the movie's really well acted by Kevin Bacon. Like, Kevin Bacon is amazing in this movie. Christian Slater is a young gusto lawyer. He's really good in the film too. Yeah, it's good. It's a decent 90s movie. It's also kind of it doesn't pull any punches when it comes to the graphic nature of the abuse going on within that system. It takes place, I think, in the 1930s, the late 1930s. So at Alcatraz. Interesting movie. see, what else did I have on the list there? Port of Shadows. Okay, so Port of Shadows is a movie by Marcel Carnet, and Port of Shadows has a Blu-ray here by Kino that's been out for several years. It came out in 2019, and it also had a Blu-ray release put out by Studio Canal back in 2012. So this is getting a Blu-ray upgrade, if you will. A Blu-ray upgrade in the sense like it's a Blu-ray from a new 4K restoration of the movie. That's an exclusive 4K restoration of the movie from this year. Directed by Marcel Carnet, Jean Gabin, a deserter from the colonial army, arrives in the misty port of Le Havre. Hoping to vanish from the world, guided by a gentle tramp, he finds refuge by the harbor and meets Nellie, a young woman caught in her own quiet despair. As love sparks between them, Jean glimpses a chance at redemption, but in the fog-bound streets, fate is always close behind. And just as hope takes root, tragedy strikes. It's a movie that has film noir vibes before film noir was a thing. Came out in 1938, obviously before the film noir movement, which typically started in 1940, but it's got that type of sorrowful energy, melancholy energy, and it's really, really good. I know it's considered like one of the all-time like great French films, so I'm not overselling it here. Also, Marcel Carnet is a great director. Several of his films are in the Criterion Collection. And I've been wanting to watch the movie for several years, and I finally was able to. I have the Kino Blu-ray. This Studio Canal is coming with a couple of special features: the Poetry of Misfortune and an introduction by Jeanette Visondeau. I think that introduction is on the Kino Blu-ray. But like I said, it's got a new 4K restoration of the movie, which that old Kino Blu-ray from 2019 does not have. So I want to make sure to mention that. And let's see, I talked about Noriko's Dinner Table, which our buddy John Matthews over at New Wave Video is putting out. Oh, The Island Closest to Heaven. This is a fascinating movie. So The Island Closest to Heaven is a movie from, I think, 1984. Yes, being put out by Cult Epics, a label that I haven't talked much about really at all. So Cult Epics, its description: based on the Katsura Muramoto's 1966 best-selling travelogue, Obayashi's paradise-laden coming-of-age tale is an island retreat to the white sands of New Caledonia. Fulfilling her late father's dream to take her to the island closest to heaven, bookish teen Mari ventures solo to the archipelago's indigo waters in search of this mythic locale. Taking the island sights, Mari journeys off the beaten path, befriending a host of friendly locals in the process. From Islander Taro to footloose tour guide Yuichi, one of Obayashi's breeziest features, filled with a sense of old-school Hollywood romanticism, The Island Closest to Heaven forms an affecting portrait of a young girl's journey to self-discovery and her own piece of heaven deep within. That's what really attracted me to this movie. It's a coming-of-age movie, a search for some type of meaning in life, an existential journey of this young woman, and with beautiful scenery. The movie's just beautiful scenery in it. And I had never heard of this movie before up until like a week ago. So this movie is getting it's got a 2K restoration of the film, audio commentary with film critic Derek Smith, Kadokawa and Obayashi, visual essay by Alex Pratt, Tomoyoya Harada, 28 Days in Caledonia, the making of the movie, theatrical trailers, new slipcase art design by Sam Smith, reversible sleeve with original Japanese art, and there's a reproduction of a 24-page Japanese booklet in here as well. And so the director, you may or may not be aware of, so he is the director of the movie House, that crazy 1970s. Hold on, let me find it. That 1970s like surreal horror movie House. 1977 House, which, if you've seen the cover of the Blu-ray, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That movie is crazy. That was one of the first movies I ever learned about when I got into Criterion because it has such a reputation. Um, it's it's a fascinating movie, and it just always made me fascinated about like what else did this director think of to do. Uh, this movie though, The Island Closest to Heaven, is about as far away tonally and visually and everything else than the movie House. Like you would have swear it was made by a different person on a different planet. So it just shows you how diverse a director can be in terms of their skill set. Really fascinating stuff. So I thought I would mention this movie. It's called uh, The Island, The Island Closest to Heaven. Let me go back to yeah, The Island Closest to Heaven. Let me go back to my notes here. I think we've one more, Stranger on Horseback by Kip Parker Films, and then we'll get to Criterion, and then we will make our way out. Stranger on Horseback is actually available to stream currently on what is it available? It's available to stream on HBO Max. So Stranger on Horseback is getting a Blu-ray release by Kip Parker Films, and I haven't talked about Kip Parker Films really maybe ever. I mean, they the only time I've ever even mentioned Kit Parker Films is they have some old noir collections from a few years ago. Noir Archive Volume 1, Noir Archive Volume 2, which came out in 2019. And then they did the Laurel and Hardy Definitive Restoration Collection that came out a couple of years ago too. That was Kit Parker Films. And I think they also did a volume 2 of that as well. A relatively small company. So yeah, I can't even find anything on Blu-ray.com on this release. Let me just look up the synopsis really quickly so I'll give you guys a sense of what the movie is about. I know what the movie is about because I've watched it, but it's kind of a kind of a B Western. I want to say it's a B. I don't think it's a B Western, but it feels like a B Western. So, a circuit judge in the Old West attempts to bring a suspected killer to justice. The judge runs afoul of the killer's rich cattle baron father in the process. It's not okay. So it's not really a B Western. It's directed by Jacques Tourneur. Jacques Tourneur is a great director. That's a name many of you may be familiar with. If you're not, you should be. Jacques Tourneur is a great director. He directed I think he directed Cat People. Let's see. Yeah, he directed Cat People, Out of the Past, I Walked with the Zombie, movies like that. I want to see if this was one of his. He also directed Comedy of Terrors. No, so it's not one of his last movies. I thought it was. It's not even close to one of his last movies. But it's probably one of his lesser films, in my opinion, because the print that I watched of that's on Warner Archive is not. I'm not Warner Archive. That's on HBO Max is not very good. But Stranger on Horseback stars Joel McCrea as this circuit judge who basically goes up against this kind of corrupt family that runs this town, and their son is was played by Kevin McCarthy. He commits a murder, but they like nobody does anything about it. Like there's the local law enforcement can't do anything about it because this family is so rich and powerful they can't touch him really. So, but Joel McCrea decides to bring him to justice essentially, and then he's got to fight with them to do it. That's the movie Stranger on Horseback. Let's see, and then now that is it for everything that's non-Criterion related. Now we will go over to Criterion. Now, please excuse me, because they literally announced these December title announcements about this afternoon, literally this afternoon. So I once I awoke, these were available, these were out. So I didn't really have a lot of time to dive into these. So we'll be diving into these pretty fresh. I was lucky enough that I've seen about 4 out of 6 of these releases, so I'm at least familiar with the movies somewhat. And some of these you will know. Some of these you will straight up know because they're well known. So let's just dive into what these releases are, and then we'll go through them individually, and that is how we will end the show. So we have David Byrne's American Utopia, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the Tim Burton film, I Know Where I'm Going, directed by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, Salam Bombay, directed by Mira Neer, His Girl Friday, directed by Howard Hawks, whom we've already talked about here. And then we've got a Return to Reason, 4 films by Man Ray. So the two that I haven't seen are Return to Reason, 4 films by Man Ray, and Salam Bombay. I haven't seen those two. So let's talk about what I have seen. Of course, right up off the top, this is going to be one of the biggest Criterion releases of this year. So get your pre-orders in when you can. Tim Burton's film, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's the first Pee-wee film. This is a beloved film that people grew up watching. Many people grew up watching. I saw it when I was younger. I know many people who were 80s kids, who were 90s kids, even the current generation has probably seen this movie. This is, I think, Tim Burton's first theatrical film, if I do recall. Because I believe before this he had done, what did he do before this? Let me go look. That's not where I want to go. Let's see. Yeah, everything he had done up until then was short films. Then, yeah, Frankenweenie. That's what he had done before this. But he had done a bunch of other shorts beforehand. He had done a TV movie of Hansel and Gretel. But Frankenweenie, I think, was the one that people probably most know him for. His, pre-Pee-wee's Big Adventure movie. And then, of course, he did Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And then Batman. No, then Beetlejuice. Then Batman. Then Edward Scissorhands. Batman Returns. Ed Wood. Mars Attack, Sleepy Hollow, you know what I'm saying? Then his career obviously took off after this. But this is very much kind of the beginning of the Tim Burton movie world, if you will. And I just recently watched the Paul Rubens documentary that's on HBO Max. Very, very good. It actually just won an Emmy. I think it won an Emmy last week. It's a really great documentary. It's a 2-part documentary going through the life and career of Paul Rubens. That they did this documentary before he passed. So it's essentially you're interviewing or you're getting stuff directly from him for a couple of hours. It's very, very good. And of course, they talk about the making of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And Pee-wee in the 80s was massive. Pee-wee Herman as a character was massive. He was just, he had his stage work, which is where the Pee-wee character originated from. That was massive. Then, of course, Pee-wee's Playhouse, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, just a massive character in pop culture at that time. And yeah, it's interesting. I recently went through just like a Paul Rubens, Pee-wee Herman marathon, if you will. I watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I watched Big Top Pee-wee, just so I could, get a sense of, the time. I even watched a couple of episodes of Pee-wee's Playhouse, which is also available on stream on HBO Max. There's a Blu-ray of that available from Shout Factory, which I know many fans have. I want to get it myself. I didn't grow up with that era. What is interesting is I was talking with Steven about this a while ago, because he didn't grow up with Pee-wee Herman. Like, that wasn't part of his childhood. I was talking with him beforehand, before we did our interview with John Matthews. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is not a movie he grew up with. So he doesn't have that nostalgia that a lot of other people have. And what is interesting to me is that, I was born in 1987. He was born in 1989. By the time we were little kids growing up, Pee-wee's time and popularity really had passed. You know what I mean? He had passed, it had, moved on, and we were into other things as kids. You know what I mean? It's kind of just interesting how you're right on the cusp of different time frames, really. Yeah, in terms of pop culture. You can miss out on some things or not be exposed to some things, and while others can. It's very fascinating. But Pee-wee's Big Adventure, there's been a Blu-ray of this available for many, many years from Warner Brothers. It's been available since 2011. I almost bought this, but I heard through the grapevine that Pee-wee's Big Adventure had gotten a 4K restoration recently, and that I think it was being shown theatrically in some places. So I wanted to wait to see what was going to happen, whether it was Warner Brothers themselves, Warner Archive, whether they were going to license it out to somebody else because they got a deal going on with Arrow Video. They got a deal going on with Criterion. Well, now we know it's Criterion. Criterion is the one that they licensed it out to. And for those of you who have never seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure, it's such a beautifully simple movie. 90 minutes. It's got a first, second, and third act. Paul Rubens talked about making of this movie, how when he and the person he was writing it with, I forgot who it was at the time. Let me actually look it up. I'm going to look it up. I'm on IMDb right now. And I think it was Phil Hartman. Let me look. It was Phil Hartman, Paul Rubens, and Michael Varhol were the three writers who worked on Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And basically, they didn't know how to write a screenplay. And it was their first time, I think, like writing a movie screenplay. So they basically took the standard screenwriting method of, first, second, and third act. Every act is 30 minutes. 30 minutes first act, 30 minutes second act, 30 minutes third act. The exact structure that you would read about in the Sid Field books in film school. That's kind of how they structured the movie. And it's kind of like perfectly done. 90 minutes. The pacing's perfect. The gags are good. The comedy's good. Paul Rubens is great on screen. It's got that wacky, effervescent comedy of Pee Wee Herman in it. It really is like kind of just like the perfect movie for what they were going for. And it's all centered around a simple premise. Pee Wee Herman has a beloved bike that he loves so much that he uses every day. It gets stolen, and he's got to find it. And it takes him on a wild adventure across the country to find it. There it goes. There it is. So, special features wise, new 4K digital restoration of the movie, supervised and approved by Tim Burton. Alternate 5.1 DTS HD master audio track. You also get the original 2.0 surround track as well. You got one 4K disc with Dolby Vision HDR and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. Audio commentary by Tim Burton and co-writer Paul Rubens. Audio commentary by composer Danny Elfman. New interview with Burton and actor filmmaker Richard Ayoade. New interview with co-writer Michael Varhol, editor Billy Weber. Production designer David L. Snyder, producer Richard Abramson, conducted by critic Mark Olson. Interview from 2005 with Paul Rubens, and an excerpt from the 40th anniversary screening of the film presented by Nostalgic Nebula and hosted by comedian Dana Gould. So the 40th anniversary of this movie would be last year. Yeah, because this year. Sorry, no. Yeah, 1985 to 2025. So it is the 40th anniversary. So I was hoping we would be getting this year, and they saved it for the literal last month of the year that this is coming out. There's deleted scenes, the trailer, and then there's an essay in radio podcast host Jesse Thorne, and then we get an amazing cover here. A beautiful collage cover of all the adventures and all the characters and people within Pee-wee's Big Adventures. This is definitely, high on my list to get for December. I mean, I think it's high on everybody's list or many people's list, but I was waiting for this release to come out so that I could get this movie in my collection. Let me see some comments here. Let's see. Have you seen Edwidge Fenech movie The Seducers? I don't think I have. No. Let's see. If you could safely hot air balloon over the events of a movie, which would you choose? Thing is, I'm deathly afraid of heights, so I would not choose to be in an air balloon over anything. I can't even go to the rail at the third level of a mall without getting a sense of vertigo. Like I'm literally Jimmy Stewart in Vertigo. That when he's high above something, he just starts panicking. That's me in any height. So don't get me in an air balloon, please. Favorite Belmondo movie? Jean-Paul Belmondo? Is it easier to say Breathless? I feel like Breathless is the easy one. Although I'm probably, let me see. I think it's too easy to say Breathless, but I'll probably just go with Breathless just for the sake of time. I was trying to see what else is. Leon Moore and Priest. Leon Moore and Priest is really good. That's underrated movie. Leon Moore and Priest, which I think is that directed by Melville? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Leon Moore and Priest. Yeah, that's Jean-Pierre Melville. It's very good from 1961. Check it out if you haven't. Let's see. So that's Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That's the big one. Let's go over to David Byrne's American Utopia. So I saw David Byrne in the Criterion Closet a little while ago, and we obviously know why he was taking a visit to Criterion. This is his 2020 concert movie, and yeah, David Byrne meets America's fractious political moment with the transcendent power of song and this ecstatic documentary of the Broadway adaptation of his acclaimed American Utopia tour. Captured with immersive immediacy by director Spike Lee, this uplifting spectacle interweaves 21 songs, both new and classic, with Byrne's spectacular observations on the state of the nation, its perils, promises, and possibility for transformation, choreographed by Annie B. Parson with the inventive minimalism that has become a signature of Byrne's live performances. David Byrne's American Utopia moves between moments of communal exuberance and hymn-like grace, making the case for music as an agent of protest, change, and above all, unity. So David Byrne, he's been making movies and these kind of concert movie, expression, musical performance-based stuff for literally decades. This is also not his first time in the Criterion Collection. He, of course, was in there before for his movie. I have it right here, True Stories. I have it right behind me. I was going to get up and get it, but forget it. I'm going to have to reach. Can't quite get it. I'd have to go through stuff. But either way, up there behind me is True Stories. Can't see it. What's over there? Either way, True Stories is great. Of course, he's been doing all kinds of stuff in the movie world, like I said, for decades. And I know him mostly based for his his music work with the Talking Heads, the band The Talking Heads. Let's see, what's that movie he did? Isn't boy, I wish I Let me go check because there's a isn't it Stop Making Sense? I think that's the other movie that's really big when it comes to him. Yeah, Stop Making Sense from 1984. That's also David Byrne as well. That's also really good. That recently got a release from A24. Yeah, that's got a release from A24. But this release here of American Utopia, 4K digital master supervised by director of photography Alan Kuras with 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio, 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc. New documentary featuring Kuras, musician, producer David Byrne, dancer, vocalist Tendai Kumba, director Spike Lee, choreographer and musical stager Annie B. Parson, lighting designer Rob Sinclair, and bassist Robbie Wooten III. And that's it. Okay, so only like one special feature. But the movie itself is great. I remember watching it when it came out back in 2020 and being very taken with it. It's a musical artistic expression extravaganza. It's really, really good. I really liked it a lot. Of course, me being big into history, me being a bit of a history buff, me being into movies and music and entertainment history as well. It combines a lot of those elements. So I also want to talk about the movie I Know Where I'm Going. This is the Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger film. Anything Michael Powell or Emmerich Pressburger, and with them together, obviously, and separately, I'm immediately interested in, and I have seen this movie, and this movie is very good. It's called I Know Where I'm Going. Love flourishes in the Scottish hybrids hybrids in this windswept enchantment from British cinema's most passionate visionaries, Michael Powell and Eric Pressburger. I know where I'm going. Declares headstrong, upwardly mobile Joan Webster en route to her marriage to a wealthy industrialist until her carefully laid plans are blown away by a raging storm that leaves her stranded on an island off the Scottish coast with a dashing naval officer. Shot in ethereal black and white that enhances the almost mystical air of its setting, a folkloric world where legends and curses still hold sway. This beloved romance is one of the cinema's most stirring expressions of the eternal conflict between the head and the heart. Yeah, 4K UHD release. This is a must-buy. 4K digital restoration by the BFI National Archive and the Film Foundation, supervised by filmmaker Martin Scorsese and editor Thelma Shoemaker. Thelma Shoemaker Powell with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. A lot of people probably still don't know this. Thelma Shoemaker was married to Michael Powell. One 4K UHD disc of the movie and one Blu-ray. Audio commentary featuring film historian Ian Christie. Restoration demonstration with an introduction by Martin Scorsese and commentary by Shoemaker Powell. Behind-the-scenes stills narrated by Shoemaker Powell. I Know Where I'm Going, revisited, a 1994 documentary by Mark Cousins. Photo essay by writer Nancy Franklin exploring the locations used in the film. Home movies from one of director Michael Powell's Scottish expeditions, narrated by Shoemaker Powell. English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by critic Imogen Sarah Smith. This is a must-buy. It's a must-buy. it's a must-have. The work of Michael Powell and Eric Pressburger, I think, are one of the most profound cinematic documents of the 20th century, and I think they are essential to understanding the artistic craft of cinema as a whole. Their work is astonishing. I mentioned The Red Shoes earlier with Jack Cardiff and Black Narcissus, but everything by Michael Powell, Peeping Tom, all this stuff is just, you need to see it to appreciate true artistic cinema, in my opinion. I can't express it more than I think, more than that. Let's see what else we've got here. Let me move over to what else we've got cooking here. Let's see. We talked about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. We've talked about David Byrne's American Utopia. We've talked about I Know Where I'm Going. His Girl Friday, I don't need to spend time on it. It's a Howard Hawks film that's essential. It's Howard Hawks viewing 101. There's been a DVD of this. There's been a Blu-ray of this. There's been already a 4K of this. Okay, actually, let me get up. There's something I do want to get, just to show everyone. I wanted to bring this over earlier, and I completely forgot. Luckily, it was right in front of me. So, His Girl Friday has already been released on 4K. It was released on 4K by Sony Pictures in their Columbia Classics Volume 4 box set. And this is their Volume 4 box set. I can fit it in the frame. And as you can see up top here, this is a picture of His Girl Friday. And I will take it out right now just to show everyone, because I believe it's the same special features that's in the Criterion. Let's see. Let's see. I'll move that aside. Typically, Sony and Criterion have a fantastic relationship with one another. Sony actually, I believe, creates and manufactures the discs that Criterion puts in their editions. I'm pretty sure they do. Now, don't quote me on that, but here's His Girl Friday. This is the 4K UHD release from Sony. You can see it's got Cary Grant, Rosalind Russell, a Howard Hawks film. Ralph Bellamy's in the film as well. And the special features, I'm going to take a quick gander. I'm pretty sure they are exactly the same. Let's see. Let's see. Actually, this may even have more. This may even have more. Okay, so I was looking over here quickly. So, let's see. The Criterion 4K UHD release of His Girl Friday has an interview with film scholar David Bordwell, archival interview with His Girl Friday director Howard Hawks, featurettes from 1999 and 2006 about Hawks and actor Rosalind Russell, radio adaptation of His Girl Friday from 1940, program about the restoration of the front page, a program about playwright and screenwriter Ben Hecht, and then radio adaptation of the play The Front Page from 1937 and 1946, plus essays on in the booklet as well. Let me see what this has. So, I've actually never opened this, to be honest with all of you. Audio commentary with film critic and author Todd McCarthy, Screwball Style, the iconic costumes of Robert Calick featurette, Breaking the Speed Barrier, the dialogue of His Girl Friday featurette, Lighting Up with Hildy Johnson featurette, Ben Hecht featurette. So, let's see. This is the program about playwright and screenwriter Ben Hecht. Yeah, it looks like. Hold on, this. Let's see. Let's see. Ben Hecht featurette, On Assignment, His Girl Friday featurette, Cary Grant Making Headlines featurette, Rosalind Russell, The Inside Scoop featurette, Howard Hawks Reporter's Notebook featurette, The Funny Pages featurette, Vintage Advertising, and then that's it. So this 4K release has things clearly that the Criterion does not. Fascinating to me. I've actually never really looked into it until now. So you're discovering my discovery in real time. So I love the movie His Girl Friday. I have the Blu-ray already from Criterion, and I also have obviously this 4K. So I've got the Criterion special features on that Blu-ray, but then I've also got these special features here too. So I guess I got everything already. So for those of you who have the Columbia Classics box set number 4 and the Criterion Blu-ray already, I guess you've got the same stuff as I do, which is interesting to me. And I guess you've got everything. I don't know. I thought they were going to be the same special features, but I guess I was wrong. I'm glad I looked into it. But anywho, I've got this set here, and now I've got no place to put it. So now I've got to get back up and put it somewhere. Hold on. No, things are falling. That's what happens when I try to do too many things at the same time. Okay, I guess everybody could still hear me. That was just my headphones falling because I was bumping into the wire as I was moving along here. So I just put it over there for right now. I'll handle that later. But it looks like the special features for the Criterion and the special features for the 4K that came out in the Columbia Collections set volume 4 are different. I wonder if the picture quality is the same. I would hope so. Anywho, that is His Girl Friday. Honestly, one of my favorite movies of all time. It is a screwball comedy of the highest order. Fast-paced dialogue. Cary Grant's he's slimy, he's charming, he's screwing around. Rosalind Russell is his opposite, but also his equal. And they have this they were former they used to be married together, but they used to be co-workers as well. So they got this little antagonistic love thing going on, but she's getting married to somebody else now. So she wants a divorce, but he's got a story he's got to cover right away. I love His Girl Friday. I rewatch it every couple of years. It says such an energy in it that you don't see. It's actually, I believe it's an adaptation of The Front Page, which was a play. So it feels very play-like. And I think The Front Page was also adapted in the 1970s as well. I think there was also an adaptation of The Front Page even before His Girl Friday, but it's nowhere near as remembered as His Girl Friday is. let's see. I think that's kind of it for everything I've seen. What are we running on in terms of time here? We're approaching 4 hours, which is kind of where I want to keep things at. So I may cut things off now. Um, I think is I don't know anything about Salam Bombay. Let's see, a kaleidoscope portrait of Bombay's teeming street life. Mira Neer's first narrative feature, Salam Bombay's combines a documentary-like sense of place with a poignant exploration of everyday resilience. After the young Krishna is cast out of his family, he makes his way to the city, where he encounters love, friendship, and tragedy in the face of extreme poverty, drawing compelling naturalistic performances from a cast consisting largely of children she met on the streets. Near creates an intense human drama that is by turns heartbreaking and life-affirming, an ode to childhood that overflows with colorful urban chaos and a deep compassion for those who live on society's margins. Oh, that's that. This movie sounds right up my alley. It really does. I wish I had more time to. I could have seen it. And we could have discussed it a little bit more. But new 4K digital restoration of the movie, 4K disc presented in Dolby Vision, and a Blu-ray disc, audio commentary with featuring Nair and director of photography Sandy Sissel, new conversation between Nair and composer El Subramanian, El Subramaniam, archival interviews with screenwriter Suni Tara Paravaya and and actors Anita Kanwar, Bernard Sissel, Safiq Saeed, and Hansa Vethal. A program about Salam Balak Trust and its mission to support the street children of Mumbai. Uh, yeah, that's the movie Salam Bombay. I really want to see it. I wonder if it's streaming on the Criterion channel. It is not. Okay. Thought it sometimes they tell you on the Criterion website if it's streaming on there or not, and this is not. And then we've got lastly Return to Reason, 4 films by Man Ray. The swirling surrealist dreams of Man Ray are high watermarks of 1920s avant-garde cinema, a nexus of cryptic themes, dark eroticism, and playful abstraction. Seemingly plucked from an unconscious realm, these 4 shorts, Le Retour à la Raison, Ambak Bakia, La Toile de Mer, and Le Mystère du Château de Doudet, find the visionary artist experimenting with the limitless possibilities of montage, superimposition, distortion, and even the application of objects directly into celluloid. Set here to an ethereal score by Jim Jarmusch. Carter Logan a Jim Jarmusch Carter Logan collaboration. These cine poems are optical carnival rides that surprise, delight, and unsettle with each tantalizing frame. Yet again, I really wish I could have watched this because this is right up my alley. 1920s avant-garde psychedelic surrealist cinema. Yes, please. I would really like that. You got a new 4K digital restoration of all 4 films, featuring a score by Squirrel, which is the Jim Jarmusch Carter Logan collaboration. Presented in 5.1 DTS HD Master Audio. Interview with Jim Jarmusch and Carter Logan, who formed the avant-garde rock band Squirrel. Concert from 2023 featuring Squirrel performing its semi-improvised score to Man Ray's films. Plus an essay by author Mark Polizzati. There you go. That is 4 films by Man Ray. And yeah, I really, really wish I got to see this. But I will probably check it out at some point. It is also not streaming on the Criterion channel yet. So that is it from Criterion. We have our December releases, and we've got David Byrne's American Utopia coming out December 16th. We've got Pee-wee's Big Adventure coming out December 16th. We've got I Know Where I'm Going coming out December 9th. And we've got Salam Bombay coming out December 9th. We've got His Girl Friday coming out December 2nd. And we have Return to Reason, 4 films by Man Ray coming out December 2nd as well. And that is finishing the calendar year for Criterion releases. So the next time we get a Criterion release next month, we'll be starting 2026. Curious what they're going to have to finish to start off that year. So that has been everything from Chasing Labels episode number 173. We got a couple of other comments here. Acres of Movie says, I like Big Top Pee-wee. Big Top Pee-wee is fascinating because you're not the only one to say that, because a lot of people saw Big Top Pee-wee when they were little, and that is something that they remember very fondly. Uh, so that's fascinating to me. Then Acres of Movies says, terrific program. Thanks. You are great always. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for everyone who has watched or listened or supports Chasing Labels here in any capacity whatsoever. If you, if you want to listen to the audio program of this podcast, it is available pretty much everywhere podcasts are found: Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify. There's even an audio. There are even audio episodes available here on YouTube too. If you don't want to look at me bumble around for 4 hours or every single 2 weeks or so, you can. There's an audio option here. Or if you don't want to, drain the battery on your phone or your listening device by watching videos, that you can do that as well. Also, we have our merch store available now. I'm wearing my Chasing Labels t-shirt. We have t-shirts available, hoodies available, mugs, tote bag, a couple other movie adjacent related stuff. If you go onto Etsy and look for either Chasing Labels or B-Roll Bandits, you will find our merch store on Etsy on there. I think there will be a link down below. If there isn't, I will put one, or Steven will put one, something like that. But either way, we do have merchandise there now. Typical stuff, like I said. But hey, support us in any way you can. If you can, you don't feel obligated to, whatever the case may be. Everybody, does what they can in life. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. We will be back here in 2 weeks' time. Let me get my calendar up to see what date that will be. I believe that will be, we'll be in October at that time. No, we won't. No, we will be in Monday the 29th, will probably be around the time we do the next episode of Chasing Labels. But between then and now, there are other stuff here up to watch. We just did our recent episode of Movies Down Memory Lane. We did the 2006 movies called Game 6, starring Michael Keaton. We will be doing another one of those episodes in 2 weeks' time as well, where we will be we will be picking another movie that we will be discussing in depth, but also with a sense of fondness, personal attachment, and all of those things. But yes, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And hey, keep on watching those movies, because I know I will.